Chapter 681. Cruel and Decisive. Chapter 681. Cruel and decisive Yemo didn't seem to notice the man laughing. He scanned the four people and said, "Answer two of my questions, and I will give you the stones." The moment he had walked inside, he had already seen that there were at least 3 cameras in the room. They were the latest high-tech cameras. Shah had showed them to him before. However, he was sure that even if someone watched the screen, they wouldn't be able to see his face clearly. The man suddenly stopped laughing. He studied Yemo before lighting up a cigarette and saying, "I really want to know why you're so calm. And how did you get the other stones, those that didn't come from Meng Kuei?" Yemo frowned. "So, you didn't call me here to do business? If you're willing to answer my questions, I'll tell you." This middle-aged man was the strongest. He was at black level middle stage, whereas the other 3 men weren't even yellow level. Although he could capture them and control their minds, it was more complicated with stronger people. Moreover, a slight mistake could result in the destruction of their souls, which would mean the loss of a source of information. The middle-aged man also had a wooden box on his table. As Yemo spoke, his spirit sense scanned the box. When he saw the 2 dark things in it, he was immediately overjoyed. At the same time, in the main meeting room of Northern Sand, a man suddenly got up and said in coarse voice, "Blow up 043 boat now." Everyone looked at the man in shock. They really didn't understand. Their boat had already found the lost chi stones in Canada, and the recordings showed that the man had gone onto the ship. Had he gone mad? Why would they blow up the ship now? Even ignoring the chi stones matter, killing their own men was crazy. The coarse-voiced man quickly said, "I'm not crazy. The man who got on the ship looks blurry, but I can tell from his voice that he's definitely Yemo. He's the Yemo we tried to blow up at the Ice Helm Island. He's not dead. If we don't blow up the ship now, he will know where we get our chi stones from and use the boat to trace it back to our base. Hence, if you don't blow it up in 3 seconds, I'm requesting to leave here." The leading man also said with a low voice, "I trust Brother Dongfang. Blow up ship 043 immediately." On the boat, everyone looked at Yemo in contempt. The middle-aged man smiled. He thought that Yemo was a goat ready for slaughter. Perhaps that young man had a few moves, so he thought he could do whatever he wanted there. The middle-aged man stood up and got a few steps closer to Yemo as he said in a sardonic tone, "Of course, I'm in a good mood today. I can tell you where they come from. You'll be very happy after hearing me." Yemo kept his spirit sense on the boat. Despite the fact that he didn't think these people were a threat to him, after experiencing this much, he wouldn't underestimate anyone. Suddenly, he got a sense of uneasiness in his heart. He could sense danger. He even caught some motion at the bottom of the ship. It was the same kind of motion he had perceived on the Ice Helm Island. Without thinking, Yemo grabbed the wooden box and darted out of the window. "You're trying to run away." The black level man reacted rapidly. He tried to grab Yemo. He had even taken his box when escaping. But he was much slower. Yemo had already disappeared. Before he could react, the fishing boat exploded into flames, turning the water nearby red. Yemo stood in the air with a calm face. He knew that they were Northern Sands people. They were cruel, and not only to their enemies, but to their own men too. What a pity! If they had been a few minutes slower, he would have been able to find out from the middle-aged man where the spirit stones came from. If he had been lucky, he would have even been able to know where Northern Sands base was. He was sure that the people attacking him were from Northern Sand. The reason they had blown up the ship was because they had recognized him from the cameras. Still, they shouldn't have been able to see him since he had covered his face with chi, so it must have been due to his voice. Not many people in Northern Sand had heard his voice before. Yemo was beginning to suspect Dongfang Tang more and more. The explosion made a huge sound and covered half of the sky with fire. The people from the cruiser saw this, and all stood on the deck watching the flames. Sister Yen had seen where Yemo was going to. It had only been a while, and the ship was burning. She felt as if her heart had been struck by a hammer. Her body was cold, and her hands were shaking. Was Yemo gone like that? Sister Yen, Yemo's voice sounded. Sister Yen saw Yemo standing beside her. She immediately ran into his arms and started crying. But soon, she kept a distance and wiped her eyes. You scared me just now. I thought you were Dash. Yemo felt a little guilty that he always did things without considering other people's feelings. In order to stop her from thinking about that more, Yemo took her to the restaurant. Sister Yen hadn't eaten for a long time. She was quite hungry and forgot to ask Yemo about the artifact he was forging. But it was only temporary. After eating something, Sister Yen quickly remembered it. She thought about how Yemo could take things out nowhere and put them away. Tell me, do you have the ability to hide something and other people wouldn't know? Sister Yen finally asked. Yemo rubbed his head. Yes, Sister Yadash, give it to me. Sister Yen reached out her hand. Looking at Yemo's innocent look, she immediately said, Stop pretending. Give me the diary. Yemo took it and gave it to her helplessly. Sister Yen, I only read the first part. I didn't get time to read the rest. You're really stingy. You shouldn't ask to return something you already gave away. Sister Yen ignored his words. She also strangely didn't ask about anything that happened on the boat or about Yemo's special abilities. After she had the diary back, she seemed a lot less talkative. Chapter 682. Dongfang Wang has a secret. Chapter 682. Dongfang Wang has a secret. The two didn't talk anymore after that, and just quietly ate. Sister Yen didn't seem to want to talk, while Yemo didn't know what to say. On their way back to the room, since Yemo didn't want to keep staying on the boat right when Luo Yu's war just ended, and he wished to immediately go back, he broke the silence by asking, Sister Yen, why don't you pack your things, and then let's go back together? Sister Yen looked at Yemo in shock for a while before asking, The ship is still at sea. How do you want to go back? Or do you mean you want to take me back to my previous room? Her face didn't seem too happy. Yemo quickly waved his hand and said, No, Sister Yen, didn't you see me make the flying sword yourself? I made that to fly on it. I can fly you back. 10 minutes later, Sister Yen was tightly holding onto Yemo's arm while standing on the flying sword. She still couldn't believe that Yemo could fly. It was too absurd. Seeing that Sister Yen wasn't saying anything, Yemo could only say, Sister Yen, you will come with me to Luo Yu, right? Ha. Sister Yen just realized that Yemo was about to take her to Luo Yu. She quickly stopped Yemo and said, Take me to Beijing first. I still need to take care of some things. Once I'm done, I can go to you. Although Yemo really wanted to just go straight to Luo Yu, due to Sister Yan's request, he still took her to Beijing. She might be at the yellow level middle stage, but Yemo still wasn't too assured. Seeing Sister Yen so eager to go, he said, Sister Yen, how about I go take care of your stuff with you, and then we go to Luo Yu together? At this moment, Sister Yen finally calmed down. She helped Yemo tidy his not that untidy collar and said calmly, I want to go alone. Don't worry about me. You've already given me the pill. I will try to improve my power. Eventually, I will go find you. Are Injia and Insi still okay? They're doing very well in Luo Yu. Sister Yen, you can see for yourself if you just come to Luo Yu. Yemo still wanted Sister Yen to just go to Luo Yu together with him. Sister Yan's eyes seemingly got a bit misty. Only she knew that other than her having business to take care of, she also simply didn't want to stay with Yemo. She didn't answer Yemo's question and shook her head instead before saying after a while, when I remember my mirror and sky blue blanket which I left behind. To be honest, I kind of regret it. Yemo took out a folded blanket and a mirror and asked, Sister Yen, do you mean these? Ha, you took them with you for me? Sister Yen felt the blanket in joy and couldn't help but embrace Yi Mo in tears. After a long while, Sister Yen suddenly pushed Yi Mo away, took out the diary, and put it in Yi Mo's hands. I'm going, so here is the diary. Help me keep the blanket and mirror, please, and read the diary after a few years. Then she turned and left, disappearing out of Yi Mo's sight. As that happened, Yi Mo felt like he'd lost something. Who knew when he would see her next? Perhaps he never would. After Sister Yen walked off, Yi Mo noticed Beijing University with his spirit sense. Who would have thought he was so close to Beijing University? Yi Mo put the things in his hands away. Although he wanted to know what was in the diary, he still decided to respect Sister Yan's wish and wait a few years. Since he was there, Yi Mo suddenly wanted to go check up on that Dongfang Wang. He suspected that Dongfang Tang was behind all the recent matters, so not only was he going to try to find out more about Dongfang Tang, but also about his whereabouts. Yi Mo walked around the university for a long time, scanning with his spirit sense, but he saw no signs of Dongfang Wang. He did see that Chen Guang, Fu Li, and even that Njichi, but not Dongfang Wang. Even though Dongfang Wang had said that he had no relations with his two brothers and that he even hated them, Yi Mo still didn't feel comfortable about this Dongfang Wang. He had to admit that all three brothers were extremely smart and calculating. Yi Mo suddenly thought if Dongfang Tang joined Northern Sand, and this was all his doing, then it could be said that both Dongfang Shi and Dongfang Tang have joined powerful military factions. Is this related to Shi Tang? Dongfang Wang wasn't around, so Yi Mo walked into the dining hall. Chen Guang, Fu Li, and Njichi were eating there. Yi Mo went to ask them about Dongfang Wang. Chen Guang was sitting with Fu Li, and although there was no one next to Njichi, there were a lot of guys sitting in her proximity. Yi Mo was no idiot and could easily tell that all those guys were totally not eating but trying to attract Njichi's attention instead. Because Chen Guang was sitting with Fu Li and Njichi in the same row, Yi Mo sat down opposite to Njichi. As those guys saw someone dared to sit opposite to Njichi, they all glared at Yi Mo. They didn't even dare sit in that spot. Who did this guy think he was? It's you? When Njichi saw Yi Mo, she almost dropped her bowl of noodles. Chen Guang and Fu Li also looked at Yi Mo in shock. They didn't know why Yi Mo was there. It's me, and I'd like to ask you about someone. Where did that Dongfang Wang go? How come I can't find him? Yi Mo had only seen them once, so he didn't want to waste time. Chen Guang answered. After we returned together, Dongfang Wang went to his place and told me to apply for a leave for him. He never came back ever since. He doesn't live in the dorms. Yi Mo asked strangely. Did this Dongfang Wang guess that he would be coming to look for him? So he left? Chen Guang nodded. Indeed, he lives around the Yan River. His family is there. Dongfang Wang's family lives in Beijing. Yi Mo was even more surprised. According to Dongfang Wang last time, his home was in a place called Shitang. Why would they live in Beijing? Also, Yi Mo had been to the Yan River area more than once, and he knew that that was the Beijing slum area. That I don't know. I just know that he lives with his mother near the Yan River. His mother is from Beijing, Chen Guang replied. Can you tell me where Dongfang Wang's home is? Yi Mo felt more, and more that this Dongfang Wang wasn't simple. If he really had predicted that Yi Mo would be coming to find him, then it was too shocking. Before Chen Guang could reply, Njichi suddenly said, I can take you there. Okay, thank you, Yi Mo said. Seeing this, Fu Li muttered strangely. What's up with Xiqi? Why would she offer to take a stranger to the Yan River? Also, when has she ever been to Dongfang Wang's home? How come I don't know? Chen Guang shook his head and didn't understand either. Could you tell me what it is you do and why you would be at Antarctica that day? Wait, that's not the main point. How could you only wear so little clothes? Couldn't you feel the cold? Njichi immediately asked. Yi Mo didn't want to answer, but since Njichi had offered to help him, he could only say, I already told you last time that I'm a mountain climber, looking at Njichi's unbelieving eyes. Yi Mo could only say, "If you don't believe me, what can I do? Anyway, do you often go to Dongfang Wang's home? How much do you know about him? Can you tell me more about him?" And Jiqi looked at Yi Mo speechlessly. Yi Mo hadn't really answered a single of her questions, yet he asked her many questions instead. "Before I answer you, at least tell me what your name is." And Jiqi felt that Yi Mo was no ordinary person after thinking through what happened that day. "I'm Yi Mo." Yi Mo didn't want to ask Jiqi anything anymore, and just wanted her to bring him to Dongfang Wang's home. And Jiqi looked satisfiedly at Yi Mo and said, "Okay, then I'll call you Brother Yi. I've never been to Dongfang Wang's house." After a pause, she continued, "But I do know a secret of his." Chapter 683, Scary Net Controller. Chapter 683, Scary Net Controller. Yi Mo couldn't help to doubt Jiqi's words. They weren't close at all. While Dongfang Wang was her classmate, why would she tell him his secrets? Seeing Yi Mo's expression, Jiqi bit her lips and said, "I'm sure you're no ordinary person, but I know Dongfang Wang isn't either. Although I've only seen you twice, I trust you more. Didn't you want to come help us that time because there had been an avalanche? So, I trust you're a good person." Yi Mo wouldn't believe her just based on her words, but he continued, "What do you want to tell me?" And Jiqi chose her words carefully before saying, "I know you might not believe me, but Dongfang Wang's is one of best computers masters in the world, maybe the best or the second best." Yi Mo was a bit interested now. They lived in a technological civilization, and Yixing was at its peak. If it hadn't been for Yixing, Luo, you wouldn't have even lasted that long. And Jiqi continued, "Dongfang Wang was at most a computer lover in our colleagues' eyes, simply just an amateur. He has this habit of carrying a computer no matter where he goes. Meanwhile, I'm the genius of computers in Beijing University. There's no one that doesn't know me. I'm not famous for being pretty, but for being the best at computers." And Jiqi breathed at ease, and then slowed down her pace. "I also thought I was the best in Beijing University, and even the teachers often asked me questions. So I didn't expect someone to be better than me. My capabilities are like a child's game compared to his." Yi Mo suddenly felt uneasy. He stopped walking and asked, "Is this person Dongfang Wang?" And Jiqi laughed at herself. "Yes, I believe so. But I suspect Dongfang Wang because of what happened last year. Last year, the Swiss bank suddenly lost 500 million pounds. The whole world was discussing this, but that was when Luo Yu was fighting their first war with the Union Army. Hence, it didn't get as much attention." Yi Mo frowned. She seemed to be insinuating that this had something to do with Dongfang Wang. However, no matter how good he was, he wouldn't have been able to do that. If the bank's money was that easily transferred away, it would have closed. And Jiqi continued, "I started suspecting Dongfang Wang after the managing teacher of the computer department died." "The teacher died?" Yi Mo asked strangely, and Jiqi nodded. "Yes, a week after the Swiss bank's incident happened. The teacher for some reason committed suicide in his house. I didn't suspect Dongfang Wang at first, but one picture completely changed my mind. That man was my computing teacher, and because I progressed quite quickly, he often asked for my advice. I respected him a lot. He had a good job and a loving wife. Why would someone like him commit suicide? So I went to his blog and looked around. I saw a photo that clearly explained a lot. The photo was taken when he went to the student dorms. At the time, Dongfang Wang was also staying at that dorm. He had been on his computer. The content on the computer screen also appeared in it. My teacher really liked the photo at the time, so he posted it on his blog. What did you see? Yi Mo asked, and Jiqi said slowly, I saw an article written in English on Dongfang Wang's screen. Some parts seemed to be about the Swiss bank's incident, so I used special means to enlarge and clear the image. It was indeed the Swiss bank announcing that they had lost 500 million pounds. I thought Dongfang Wang had been reading news online after it happened, but after seeing the date, I knew that wasn't the case. And you just suspect him due to this? Yi Mo looked strangely at Njichi. Njichi shook her head. No, because I thought of another thing. Before all of this happened, the teacher took us out to eat once, and Dongfang Wang was there. At the time, I remembered a student asking, could there be a computer master that could use a zombie computer as a springboard and commit a crime, but have no one able to find out where the zombie computer? At the time, I said, even if they found the zombie computer, it wouldn't matter. Moreover, who would care about a zombie computer? The teacher replied, no matter how good you are, if you use a computer as a zombie computer, people can find it. Of course, a computer master probably has defense mechanisms on his computer. Also, even if there was a computer master 100 times better than him, if the master used his computer as a zombie computer, then there would be traces. After the teacher said this, I saw clear contempt in Dongfang Wang's eyes. Although it was very quick, I still caught a glimpse of it. However, because his computer skills were average, I didn't put much thought into it. But now that I think of it, he might have used the teacher's computer as a zombie computer, but the teacher didn't know anything about it. Yi Mo knew what Njichi meant. So he asked, that teacher meant that he could tell if someone used his computer as a zombie computer, right? And Njichi nodded, approving his skills at Yi Mo, and said, yes, that's what he meant at the time. When I realized this, I closed my teacher's blog and started to investigate Dongfang Wang. I did things very carefully. I bought a mouth mask, makeup, and a new computer. I even made sure my net card was anonymous. But when I used the computer to enter my teacher's blog again, the picture had been deleted. As soon as I went inside, the screen froze and it got blocked. Whoever did this quickly entered my computer and was going to hack, opened the webcam. Luckily, I hadn't installed the driver for the cam, so he wasn't able to open it. I'm sure that it took him less than 5 minutes to hack my computer after entering my teacher's blog. It was so fast, not even I could do that. After he hacked me, I immediately exited the website and switched to another anonymous net card. What next? Yi Mo asked. Njichi was actually sweating. She said, I went at once to use the school's computer room server because the teacher was responsible for it. Just in case, I covered the camera with something. However, right after I entered the server, I didn't get to see anything before I was hacked again. 3 minutes had barely passed, the computer camera driver was installed, and he had opened the camera. It was too fast. I've never seen someone this strong. Njichi was sweating more and was breathing heavily. I was rather confident in my computer skills before. Yet still, before I had even reached his computer, he had already gone through everything in mine. I immediately knew that I was a far cry from this person. I've been a hacker before, but I feel like this person isn't a hacker. He's a net controller. Out of fear, I threw my new computer away. But 4 days after, another suicide case happened. A student had committed suicide in the dorms. The official statement was that he had been too addicted to games, but the computer on the newspaper report was familiar. It was the one I threw out. Is Dongfang Wang that good? Are you sure it's him? Don't you think you're lacking in evidence? Yi Mo asked again. Chapter 684. Pitiful Motive. Chapter 684. Pitiful Motive. Njichi nodded seriously. Yes, I'm sure it's him now. Other than that, I still have a strong feeling that it is him. I feel like he suspects me. Since he's close to Qingguang, we're also familiar, but he would have never actively tried to socialize with us. However, ever since the teacher died, he often hangs out with us. He also wanted to join us to Antarctica this time. Yi Mo fell into silence. He hadn't expected Dongfang Wang's computer skills to be this good. If he hacked Luo Yu's net, the consequences would be unfathomable. Although he had told Su Yuehua to warn Yi Xing last time, he wasn't too sure about it. The good thing was that Luo Yu's military base and its governmental network wasn't connected to the outside net. After a while, Anjichi said, "I'm sure that this matter is related to Dongfang Wang, because once at the dining hall, he suddenly asked me what I thought about the Swiss bank robbery. I was shook at the time, but I was prepared. So I said casually, 'It's not my country's money. I don't care.'" "What was he like at the time?" Yi Mo suddenly asked, and Jichi said after thinking for a while, "He just smiled and said he wanted to take me out for dinner. Because I was afraid of him, I agreed. Luckily after dinner, he just sent me back and didn't say much. Just the thought of it makes me shiver. I really don't want to be around him, but I am still acting like nothing is going on when he's with Qin Guang and the others." Yi Mo smiled. "And Jichi, I believe you, but I don't understand why Dongfang Wang didn't kill you. What?" And Jichi looked at Yi Mo in confusion. Yi Mo said plainly, "If I'm not wrong, Dongfang Wang has been long suspecting you. He killed that student who found your notebook to give you a warning." "What?" And Jichi's mouth was wide open in shock. She thought she had done very well hiding it, and Dongfang Wang had acted normal. How could he tell? Yi Mo said, "Although I don't know why he didn't kill you, I'm sure that he knows you suspect him. I'm more and more interested in Dongfang Wang now. This is the Yen River, but you've never been to his house. How are you going to find him?" Yi Mo waved his hand and asked, "Wait, there's one more thing I haven't told you," and Jichi suddenly said, "Oh, what is it?" Yi Mo asked, and Jichi said, "When we went to Antarctica last time I met you, the first one to start climbing was Dongfang Wang. He was carrying a blue bag up the mountain. After he came down, the blue bag was gone, and we never heard him talk about what happened. I even suspect that he put the bag up there intentionally." Yi Mo nodded. He decided to go again to that mountain after he returned to Luo Yu, and Jichi thought of something and suddenly felt uneasy. Yi Mo could feel her tension and worry. "Are you worried that Dongfang Wang will come back for you?" Yi Mo asked. And Jichi nodded. "Although I don't think that he doubts me. You're also right. What if he does?" Before Yi Mo could reply to her, his spirit sense scanned a normal brick house. Inside there were 2 bedrooms, and in one of the rooms, Yi Mo found a big bag. He had seen it before. It was the one Dongfang Wang had brought to Antarctica. Dongfang Wang and his mom weren't at home, and the room was very clean. Yi Mo took Jichi into Dongfang Wang's room, and as soon as he stepped in, his spirit sense scanned a small camera in the room. Dongfang Wang was no ordinary person indeed. No matter what his relationship with his 2 brothers was, he was very ambitious. He liked the feeling of having everything under his control. When Njichi walked into this room, she felt uneasy again. Just when she was about to say that Dongfang Wang wasn't there and suggest to leave, a voice suddenly sounded in the room. "You wouldn't let me go indeed. I know who you are, and I have no intentions of becoming your enemy. I can't beat you, but Njichi, you actually brought someone else into my room. You dash." Dongfang Wang was very calm in the beginning, but when he spoke to Njichi, his tone was very emotional. Njichi got goosebumps. She looked around subconsciously and moved closer to Yi Mo. Yi Mo didn't speak. He realized that Dongfang Wang had indeed figured out that he would be coming for him and had hidden. It seemed that also he knew who he was. He was a dangerous man, a dangerous guy who had predicted everything. "What's me bringing Brother Yi here got to do with you?" Njichi replied shakily. "Njichi, I know you suspect me, but I didn't kill you. I thought you had good feelings towards me, since I like you, and you never hated me. That day I invited you to dinner. You didn't even think twice about it before agreeing. Whenever I was with Chun Guang and the others, you never avoided me. Why did you have to bring someone to my home today? Why? Dongfang Wang's voice was shaking. It was full of disappointment. Yi Mo just realized that Njichi was Dongfang Wang's dream woman. Dongfang Wang was so smart, yet he couldn't see through this. If he had better EQ, he would know that Enjichi was scared of him, not that she liked him. Hearing Dongfang Wang's confession, Enjichi shivered. She hadn't expected that maniac to fall in love with her. Yi Mo was right, he really knew about everything. Yi Mo patted her shoulder and said, "You don't need to be afraid of this sort of maniac." As though she felt empowered by Yi Mo's words, she suddenly pointed at the speaker and cursed, "Dongfang Wang, you scum! You have such great computer skills. I believe you could have done it without the teacher finding out, but you still killed him. Do you still dare say you didn't kill him?" "Yes, I killed him, but not because of what you think. I did use his computer as a zombie computer, but he didn't know about it at all. No one could know. His computer is just one of the countless zombie computers I use. I didn't kill him because of that, but because I love you. And he was just an ugly frog. He spent all day asking you this and that. I've wanted to kill him for a long time. I knew you suspected me. And that's right, you're correct. I didn't kill you because I love you. Although I've never confessed my feelings, I want you to be a queen." Dongfang Wang continued. His tone was getting more and more excited. It was as though he wanted to show his heart to Enjichi. "Don't make me throw up." Enjichi cursed and just thought of something. She suddenly hugged Yi Mo and kissed him on the lips. Yi Mo wanted to say something, but Enjichi let go of Yi Mo and said, "I like you. Please don't reject me." There was a furious roar on the speaker. Yi Mo even heard something getting smashed. He couldn't help to shake his head. Dongfang Wang really liked Enjichi, but her move completely crushed him. This way, Dongfang Wang would only hate him more. Chapter 685. Fish Jumping Through the Dragon Gate. Chapter 685. Fish jumping through the dragon gate, Yi Mo waved his hand and destroyed the camera. Then he made a gesture with his hand to Enjichi. "Let's go." Suddenly, there was a furious roar. "Yi, if you dare touch her, I will destroy your corpse into 1,000,000 pieces and vanish your land from existence." Yi Mo stopped walking and sneered. "Dongfang Wang, I wasn't planning to kill you before, but now you're dead for sure. No one can threaten me. No one from the Dongfang family can threaten me. I could kill Dongfang Shi, and I can also kill you no matter where you hide." That voice fell silent for a while before saying slowly, "As long as you don't touch Chi-Chi, I swear I won't do anything against you. What Dongfang Tang is doing has nothing to do with me." "Ha ha!" Yi Mo laughed. "You have no right to tell me which girl I can or cannot touch. You overestimate yourself. No matter how strong your net is, one day I will be able to easily grab you and kill you." Meanwhile, Enjichi was furious on the side. She yelled, "Dongfang Wang, who do you think you are? How can you be so shameless? I will sleep with Brother Yi tonight. What are you going to do about it? You scum! Animal!" "Arg!" He roared loudly again. Yi Mo sneered and walked out of the room. "Sorry, Brother Yi." Enjichi felt very bad. She couldn't believe something like this had happened. Someone had made her his woman without her knowing or agreeing. Yi Mo waved his hand. He was speechless about finding out the truth about Dongfang Wang too. "I didn't ask for your permission. That man is so incredibly disgusting. I'm scared just thinking about it now. He can kill innocent people so casually. In his eyes, people's lives are worth nothing." Enjichi was in a very bad mood. She thought about the 2 suicides that had taken place in the university. They all seemed to be people she was related to. Now she knew they were all connected to Dongfang Wang. Luckily, Chun Guang already had a girlfriend who he was together with every day. Otherwise, Chun Guang might have been killed too. Yi Mo waved his hand, trying to downplay it. "It's fine. It's not like I lost anything." Enjichi's young, soft lips with aroma hadn't been unpleasant. As for sleeping together tonight, Yi Mo didn't take it seriously. Enjichi blushed and said, "I don't dare stay in Beijing anymore. I'm going to leave to my grandfather's place tomorrow. I told my sister that I would go to her place next month, but after this happened, I need to leave as quickly as possible. Brother Yi, you need to watch out with Dong Fong Wang too. What's your sister called? Yi Mo suddenly asked, and Jiqi smiled. Her name is Ning. She's in Luo Yu right now. So, it was someone he knew. He had gotten the yin yang 8 trigram fish eye from Ning. According to her, her grandfather had given it to her. This meant that Njichi's grandfather was also Ning's. Yi Mo really wanted to visit that old man. The reason he hadn't mentioned it to Ning was because he really didn't like the feeling she gave him. Although Ning was prettier than her sister, Yi Mo felt that Njichi was much easier to talk to than her. Yi Mo suddenly smiled. Can I stay for a while at your house? Huh? Njichi blushed. After a long while she said, stuttering, Brother Yi, sorry about before. Don't misunderstand. I just wanted to anger Dong Fong Wang. That's why Yi Mo knew what she meant and waved his hand. Njichi, you're mistaken. I seem to know your grandpa, so I want to visit him. Moreover, I'm already married. You're thinking too much. Even after hearing this, Njichi was still a little nervous, but she felt a lot more at ease. Her grandfather was called Zaishan. Njichi's parents had been doing business in Korea, so they had left their daughters in Beijing. Seeing his granddaughter come back, Zaishan was very surprised. Although she had a lot of friends, she had never brought back a boyfriend. Qianbei, sorry for disturbing you. Yi Mo's greeting made Zaishan feel weird. Njichi almost laughed out loud. He was missing 2 pieces of the yin-yang fish. Before Zaishan asked anything, Yi Mo took out the eye he had gotten from Ning and asked, Qianbei, I came for this, the fish eye? So, you were the person who made the deal with my granddaughter? Zaishan grabbed the fish eye and asked in shock. Yi Mo nodded. Yes, Qianbei, I have an yin-yang 8 trigram fish. I have 5 pieces for now, and it seems to be missing 2 fish tails. So I came here to ask you where you got the eye from. Huh, Brother Yi, you know my sister? Njichi had been a little scared before about Yi Mo coming to her house, but she finally understood why. Yi Mo took out the pieces he had collected, and Zaishan picked them up and looked at them carefully for a long while before putting them down. He sighed. So that's it? I didn't think one day someone would be able to gather this many pieces. Sighed Dash, and Zaishan sounded like he knew about it. Yi Mo quickly got up and saluted with his fist. And Qianbei, please tell Wanbei what this is. And Zaishan signaled Yi Mo to sit down, and then said, Decades ago, an old friend of mine gave me the fish eye. His name is Zhang Zhihui. He's from the Zhang family. However, he left the Zhang family to seek Dao, and I haven't seen him for decades. Yi Mo felt a little sad. Zhang Zihui had died doing things for him, but he didn't even know who killed him. And Zaishan continued, More than 50 years ago, we were still in the army. After he completed a mission and returned, he gave me the fish and a top-grade jade. Something happened after that mission, and he left the army. Sai, wait a second. And Zaishan went into the room and took the jade out for Yi Mo to see. He scanned the jade. Yi Mo saw a small inscription that read, When 7 pieces are formed, a fish jumps through the dragon gate. And Zaishan saw that Yi Mo wasn't speaking and said, Here it says, when 7 pieces are formed, fish jumps through the dragon gate. I don't know what that means, but seeing you bring 5 pieces here, there must be 7 pieces to it. So indeed, you are missing 2 pieces. He then said, I have no use for this jade. I'll give it to you. Yi Mo had been thinking about how he was going to ask for it, but Zaishan had offered first to give it to him. He immediately got up and saluted with his fist, then, Thank you. And Qianbei, I still wish to ask another question. Did Zhang Qianbei ever tell you where he found this? And Zaishan shook his head. I don't know either. The mission he was working on was confidential. I never met him again afterwards. Yi Mo took out for Zaishan 2 bracelets he had made and said, These are 2 magic artifact bracelets. They can keep evil away from you while keeping you healthy. I don't have much to give you, so I can only offer you this." And Zaishan was very happy with what Emo had given him, so he got up to thank him. And Jichi really liked the bracelet too. She didn't care about keeping evil away, but the bracelet was really pretty, although Emo really wanted to go to Luo Yu right away, and Zaishan was too hospitable. Hence, he decided to stay that night. He spent the night studying the pieces. In the middle of the night, just when he was about to go to bed, he felt a bleak chi. Chapter 686. Shi Tang Wang. Chapter 686. Shi Tang Wang, feeling this bleak chi, Emo immediately sent his spirit sense out. What he saw shocked him. He saw two paper men floating over the wall, slowly approaching him. Emo knew that paper couldn't walk itself, though, and his spirit sense immediately scanned that the two paper men were indeed not walking by themselves. Instead, they were being controlled by two ghosts, while those two ghosts were being controlled by a human. The reason why the two paper men were suitable for ghosts to attach themselves to them was because they seemed to contain some sort of formation. Emo had honestly never seen low-level formations like that before. Dongfang Wang knew that Emo was with Jichi since the morning, and Jichi had said that she would be sleeping with him that night. In his rage, Dongfang Wang was most likely set on killing Emo. Thus, these two ghosts must be his doing. Emo didn't expect Dongfang Wang to have such methods. Who was that guy really? Before the two paper men got to the window, Emo walked out and went to stand in the yard. Seeing this, the two paper men dazed around for a moment, as though being surprised at their target not being afraid of ghosts and coming out. But soon they went on to charge at Emo with those scary faces of theirs. Emo sneered. Two mere ghosts dared attack him. They underestimated him too much. He stood there without moving, while the faint moonlight shone on the two paper men and made them seem quite frightening. The two paper men soon floated in front of Emo, and he sensed the bleak chi get stronger and stronger. Normal people wouldn't be able to resist such bleak chi. Usually, the people attacked by these ghosts would be scared easily, and if they became scared, it would make it easy for the ghosts to invade their victim's body. But Emo was no ordinary person, and when he flung out a fireball, one of the paper men was instantaneously burned to dust. There was a sharp shriek, and as the other paper man realized that Emo was strong, he turned to run. Emo didn't stop the second paper man. He quickly followed after it and left the in-family house. If Dongfang Wang had made it, then he only needed to follow it to find Dongfang Wang. And Jichi had been unable to fall asleep due to her worries. So, when she heard the sharp shriek, she immediately opened her curtains to look at the yard. There was nothing there. A few moments later, her grandpa came out, and seeing her grandpa standing at the door of the yard, she also came out. "Grandpa, what was that shriek? It sounded so bleak and eerie." And Jichi asked. The only reason why she wasn't overly scared was because she was with her grandpa, and Zaishan looked into the yard and said, "Go inside first and check if Mr. Yi is all right." It didn't take long for Njichi to rush back out. "Grandpa, Brother Yi isn't in his room. He didn't open when I knocked, so I pushed the door open and went in, and he wasn't there." And Zaishan nodded. "I asked Ning Ning, and apparently he's no simple man. He is highly influential even in the upper levels of Beijing. How do you know him?" And Jichi quickly told her grandpa how they had met Emo in Antarctica. "Okay, Chi-Chi, go to bed for now. Someone like Mr. Yu will be fine for sure." And Zaishan himself, however, couldn't go to sleep anymore. The paper man was like the wind and traveled very rapidly. Emo kept following the paper man, and it didn't float too far away. After traveling about 4 kilometers, it went into a hotel and into a room. Emo followed right after. Inside the room was an old man in his 60s who seemed very bony, and his face had black cheese circulating all over it. Yi Emo knew that this old man was just an ordinary person and had never cultivated ancient martial arts, but the bleak and death-like chi around him was due to long-term contact with ghosts. When the old man saw that only one of his paper men floated in, he immediately slammed the table and yelled, "Who dared kill my pet ghost? Swear that if I don't make you my new pet ghost, I'm an animal." Yemo's figure suddenly appeared in the room, and he said coldly, "I burned your first paper man, and now I'll burn this one too. What will you do about it?" Then Yi Emo burned the other paper man to ashes as well, accompanied by another sharp shriek. This made the old man take a few steps back as he stared at Yi Emo in shock. You can turn invisible and shoot fireballs." "Why, you dash." Yi Emo ignored the old man's shock and asked, "Dongfang Wang sent you, right? Just tell me where he is." "Don't even think about it." The old man knew that he was no match for his opponent at all. His greatest weapons were his ghosts, yet his ghosts were nothing to this man. How was he going to fight him? But it really was impossible for him to betray Dongfang Wang, so the old man decided to commit suicide. However, Yi Emo noticed that the old man's eyes didn't seem right, so he immediately pointed at the man's forehead. Immediately, the old man's eyes became dreamy. Yi Emo breathed a sigh of relief. He had almost let the old man commit suicide. How was Dongfang Wang able to make someone like this man do work for him and even be willing to die for him? "What is your name? Where do you come from?" Yi Emo started his interrogation. "Dongfang Chong, I came from Shitang." 11 Tang again. Yi Emo wanted to know where this place was more and more. "Where is Shitang? And who is Dongfang Wang to you?" Yi Emo asked. "Shitang is in Shitang, and Dongfang Wang is the young master. I want to know Shitang's general area and how Dongfang Wang is your young master. Shitang is in the southwest direction, while Dongfang Wang is the 19th Shitang King Dash." A hint of struggle appeared in the old man's eyes, but Yi Emo was deep in thought and didn't notice it. "Where is Dongfang Wang now?" Yi Emo asked again, but then black blood started seeping out of the man's mouth, and it was clear that he had committed suicide. Yi Emo looked at the black smoke and putrid smell and knew that the old man hadn't committed suicide through poison, but that his death was caused by a secret technique. The smell was so bad that Yi Emo burned the old man away before the process had even ended. What shook Yi Emo the most was how the old man had woken up from his technique. His mental power had to have been very strong. Ordinary yellow levels wouldn't even be able to struggle when he used his mind control, yet this old man had woken up from it. In the house there was nothing but a wooden crate, and the house looked very old. Yi Emo sent his spirit sense inside the crate and saw a bunch of charms, low-level magic artifacts, and even a few skulls. Other than that, there were some books, and as Yi Emo gave them a look, he saw that they were all about raising ghosts. Yi Emo wasn't interested in all that and burned it all away. When Yi Emo came back to the family house, he knew that someone had been in his room from the aroma that was left behind. It was probably Njichi. The second morning, as Yi Emo was thinking about what to say when they would ask him questions, neither of his two hosts mentioned anything about last night. Yi Emo felt strange, but he wouldn't bring it up if he didn't have to. Dongfang Chong was dead. Yi Emo thought that Dongfang Wang probably wouldn't dare do anything to the family anymore, so he left the next morning on his way back to Luoyu. Chapter 687. Most fortunate to be together. Chapter 687. Most fortunate to be together, Luoyu Lake. It was the most peaceful and beautiful lake in Luoyu, and it was connected to a mountain. A bright green patch of grass surrounded lake, and behind it there was a very beautiful-looking mansion. This was the place Yi Emo lived at. He had built a simple spirit-gathering formation there, So the spirit chi was much denser than other places. Yi Mo was never at home, so this was where Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue lived at. Tang Beiwei and Yi Ling also frequently came over to play. There was a very large garden before the mansion. It was Yi Mo's herb garden. It didn't have many spirit herbs, though, because the Luo Yu War had ended. Most of the things to take care of had to do with compensation, immigration, and rebuilding. So Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue had a lot of free time. They spent their time mostly gardening during the day, but today they weren't in the mood for that because Yi Mo was coming back. They were waiting for Yi Mo on the top of the grass mountain. They were very worried for him after the Ice Helm Island exploding, and now that they knew he was fine, they wanted to see him even more. Before Yi Mo landed, he saw Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue looking for him expectantly, and a well of emotions surged up. No matter how things were outside, Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue were always waiting for him to come back. When Yi Mo approached the two women, they ran to hug him. The sense of happiness and bliss almost drowned him and melted him. A big bird also saw this and also flew to them. No one wanted to talk at that moment. Sometimes silence speaks more than 1,000 words. Tang Beiwei and Yi Ling saw this from a distance. Tang Beiwei pulled Yi Ling, who didn't want to leave, in order to give Yi Mo some space. Beiwei, I haven't seen brother for a long time. Yi Ling didn't want to leave. Tang Beiwei whispered something to Yi Ling, and Yi Ling's face got red. She pinched Tang Beiwei. I didn't think you were this dirty. I'm telling brother. Luo Ying, Ning Qingxue, and Yi Mo saw the two girls play fighting, but they didn't want to move or say anything. After a long while, Yi Mo said, "Let's go back." Before they replied, he carried the two women and flew to the door. Although she knew what Yi Mo and Luo Ying were going to do, Ning Qingxue didn't want to leave. Looking at how Yi Mo was scratching his face, Luo Ying laughed to herself. She knew Yi Mo was embarrassed, so she whispered something to Ning Qingxue. Eventually, Ning Qingxue left unwillingly, yet she still went back to her room. What did you say to Qingxue? Yi Mo asked strangely. Luo Ying smiled and didn't say anything. Yi Mo could no longer resist his yearning for Luo Ying and carried her onto the bed. As his wife, of course Luo Ying knew what Yi Mo was going to do. It wasn't her first time. She could tell from Yi Mo's eyes. Yi Mo stripped Luo Ying's clothes off and threw them on the ground. A soft moan sounded as he squeezed Luo Ying into his arms. Her eyes were dreamy as she held onto Yi Mo's waist, as if not wanting for him to keep moving, yet also asking Yi Mo to keep moving. The panting became louder. Although her eyes were shiny and dreamlike, Luo Ying still wanted to wipe Yi Mo's non-sweating forehead. But before she could raise her hand, her lips were covered by Yi Mo's lips. Time went by, and the rustling gradually calmed down. Although he hadn't wasted much stamina, Yi Mo still hugged Luo Ying tightly and didn't want to move. Luo Ying didn't want to move as well. If possible, she wanted to stay like this forever. There was that happiness that one achieved when being in the arms of the person you love. Ning Qingxue carefully opened the door and walked inside, seeing Luo Ying and Yi Mo on the bed together. Her face blushed. She was a little unhappy with Yi Mo. When he had been with her, he had told her that she needed to reach foundation establishment state first. Why hadn't he said that to Sister Luo Ying? However, she knew that Yi Mo had seen her for sure. Hence, before he could say anything, she took off her shoes and squished into the blanket. Yi Mo did know that Ning Qingxue had come inside the room, but just when he was about to get up, he realized he had no clothes on him. He didn't expect Ning Qingxue to get in the bed. He even had a crazy thought. Ning Qingxue's body was also soft and warm. When she pressed herself against Yi Mo, he felt this searing fire again. When Ning Qingxue put her arms around him, he was so comfortable that he almost moaned. Yi Mo also put his arm around Ning Qingxue, and looked apologetically at Luo Ying. Luo Ying smiled. When she was about to speak, Ning Qingxue said, "Brother Mo, you lied to me. You and Sister Luo Ying were doing that. Why don't you do it with me?" "I'm also Dash." Mo quickly blocked her mouth with his until she was panting, and then said, "We Dash." Ning Qingxue suddenly smiled, and also blocked Mo's mouth with hers. After a while, she said, "I know Sister Luo Ying already told me. At that time, she thought you were going to die. I don't need that foundation establishment state. I just want to be with you and Sister Luo Ying forever." Mo could feel the softness and inseverable love at the bottom of his heart were so real. He hugged them until he squeezed both of them into his arms, making sure it wasn't a dream. Ning Qingshue's voice seemed to come from the edge of heaven. "I'm already very satisfied with the fact that Sister Luo Ying could leave me a spot. I heard about your wedding. I envy it. It's a shame I wasn't there. Sister Luo Ying is very brave. If it had been before, I believe I wouldn't have had the courage Sister Luo Ying had, but now I do. Brother Mo, I also want to be your real wife, like Sister Luo Ying." Luo Ying heard this and nodded in agreement. Mo rubbed Ning Qingshue's hair and said softly, "Don't worry, we can reach foundation establishment state for sure. I'll break through to stage 6, and as soon as I do, we will have our wedding. After our wedding, I might need to leave for a long time. When I come back, perhaps we can all reach foundation establishment state. Believe me, we will be together forever. A few decades isn't enough time for me to love you guys." Hearing this, Ning Qingxue and Luo Ying's eyes were sparkling, and they got turned on again. It was very easy to love someone, but it was hard for the person you love to love you as much. Mo whispered to Ning Qingshue's ear, "When I reach stage 6 and have our wedding, I will take you. You and Luo Ying are both my greatest loves." Mo didn't want to take Ning Qingshue's virginity before having a proper wedding like he did with Luo Ying. Chapter 688. Young Woman Carrying a Kid. Chapter 688. Young woman carrying a kid. With Mo's return, every one of Luo Yu's upper management felt assured. And since they had gotten such large sums of compensation and so many captives from the war, Luo Yu rapidly started building once again. And although the new wave of immigration hadn't begun yet, it was a fact that many people were planning on coming to Luo Yu. What caught everyone's attention the most was the news that 3 months later, on the first day of the new year, the founder of Luo Yu Pharmaceuticals, Mo, would have his wedding. The day would be made a public holiday. Not many people knew about Mo's identity before, but now everyone knew that he was the founder of Luo Yu. Even Su Yuehua had to come to his wedding. Although Mo knew that quite some people already knew who he really was, he actually didn't want the whole world to know that he was the ultimate boss. Mo didn't seek fame. He preferred a peaceful and free life. And of course, if that life could last forever, that would be even better. If it wasn't for him wanting to give Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue a big wedding, he wouldn't have even wanted Su Yuehua and company to make it known to the world like that. But Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue had been suffering quite a lot because of being with him. So even though they didn't care, Mo didn't want them to marry him without anyone knowing. Now that he had built Luo Yu, he would make everyone there know that Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue were his wives. The entire city soon got into a festive spirit. Because Mo didn't like bothering himself with miscellaneous matters, he left everything to Su Yuehua and company except for the city planning. Ning Qingxue did help out with some of the financial matters, but Luo Ying didn't do anything in the Luo Yu government. She just looked after the herbs in the garden every day. Before Mo went into his solitary training in order to break through to stage 6, he took Ning Qingxue and Luo Ying to the Nei snow mountains. However, he wasn't able to find the snow fox. Mo had wanted to find it, so that he could take it with him to the small dimension because it had the ability to find spiritual objects. Yi Mo, Luo Ying, and Ning Qingxue played outside for another month before going back to Luo Yu for Yi Mo's solitary training. Yi Mo knew how powerful Great Heaven Masters were, and he knew that there were ancient cultivator homes in the small world, so he absolutely had to reach stage 6 before he could leave. If he died in the small world, then what would Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue do? If Yi Mo could choose, he would rather just reach the tertiary stage of qi gathering, but Yi Mo knew that that would be impossible with the mere 3 spirit stones he had. Although he was at the tertiary stage of stage 5 already, Yi Mo wasn't even sure if he would be able to reach stage 6 at all, so he didn't dare use the 3 spirit stones yet. He just used the ordinary way of gathering spirit qi. If he had hopes of breaking through, he would use the stones to help him break through. Otherwise, it would be a waste to use them. He still needed 7 spirit stones to enter the small world too, and he didn't have enough. So Yi Mo was thinking that if he couldn't find 7, he would cut the 3 into smaller pieces and see if he could get in with that. A month flew by, and it became clear once again that the spirit qi on Earth was really not good enough. He had only consolidated his strength a little, and he didn't even reach the peak of stage 5, much less stage 6. Yi Mo rejoiced that he hadn't used the spirit stones. If he had, he would have reached the peak of stage 5 at most, but stage 6 would still be impossible. He was about to have his big wedding with Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue, so he didn't want to keep cultivating anymore. He used the extra time he had to make 3 flying swords and spend time with Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue. After another month passed, Yi Mo had used the materials he had to make 3 flying swords. One was for Luo Ying, one for Ning Qingxue, and one for Tang Beiwei. He would be leaving Luo Yu and the people he loved with the necessary self-defense capabilities. Even for Yi Ling, Yi Zifeng, and Yi Xing, he made a set of ancient martial arts cultivation methods. Luo Yu was very busy at the moment. Although the new immigrants hadn't arrived yet, many who wanted to make the move were surveying the island. All those tourists heard that an important figure was going to have a wedding and that the wedding was going to be held by the city lord. So they all wanted to stay for the wedding. Luo Yu's hotels ran out of space, so much that normal citizens began renting out their places to tourists. The newly built Luo Yu had attracted many foreigners, and everyone who came felt like Luo Yu was grandiose, beautiful, and had all the facilities needed. They called it heaven, the most ideal place to live. The people who came to check the city out all wanted to immigrate as soon as possible when they heard that the immigration restrictions had been getting tighter since the last war. On a certain street in Luo Yu, in front of the door of a shopping mall, a young woman was carrying a small child who was looking around everywhere. Although the woman looked drowned in stress, her face was pretty. Perhaps she was too pretty and having a certain royal temperament to her. People soon started asking her if she needed help. Just when she wanted to ask where Yi Mo lived, she saw 2 girls walking past the street. She shook her head and quickly followed after them. She knew one of the girls. It was Yi Mo's sister. Yi Ling's brother is marrying sisters Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue tomorrow. Can you tell me what you're going to give them already? Yi Ling had been asking Tang Beiwei what she would be giving them, but she just wouldn't tell her. The young woman who was about to stop Yi Ling almost tripped, and the little girl in her arms started crying. Her face went pale, and she quickly patted the girl to comfort her. Hearing the girl cry, Yi Ling turned around, looked strangely at the girl in the woman's arms, and she quickly said to Tang Beiwei, "Beiwei, look at that girl. She's so pretty. She's only about 1 year old. How can she be so pretty already?" The woman saw this and became nervous. When she heard that Yi Mo hadn't died, she took the child all the way from Flowing Snake to Luo Yu to find Yi Mo. But she didn't expect Yi Mo to be about to get married with his fiancée, Ning Qingxue. In that case, what would she become? The Song family had enmity with Yi Mo, yet she had Yi Mo's child from when Yi Mo saved her. At this moment, the young woman felt powerless. She looked down in fear of getting identified by Yi Ling as Song Yangzhu. 1 year ago, she had been saved by someone at the Yimei Snow Mountains, and she had stayed there. She gave birth to Yimo's child and thought about the Song family and Yimo, and her heart melted. As the child came into this world, there was no longer hatred in her heart. She no longer had the motivation to cultivate anymore, and all her focus was on the child. Her cultivation level also halted at the black level and was even about to go down. So the only person she thought about other than her child was Yimo. She didn't want the child to not have a father. So she took the child with her in search of Yimo. When she heard that Yimo didn't come out of that cave, however, she didn't dare search for Yimo anymore. Yet when the child got a little older, she couldn't resist it anymore, took her daughter, and left Yimei Mountain. 2 months ago, she came to Beijing and tried to find news of Yimo. The news that Yimo was alive almost made her cry. The moment she heard the news, she completely forgot that Yimo was the person she had once set out to kill. Chapter 689. Yimo, don't cry. Chapter 689. Yimo, don't cry. Song Yangzhu hadn't expected that the first news she would get after arriving would be that Yimo was having a wedding. And the person who she found out from was Yimo's sister, no less. At that moment, her mind went blank. She didn't know what to do. Even though she knew that Ning Qingxue was Yimo's fiancé, she still felt lost. She suddenly felt like she was extra because of her talent. The Song family had sent her to the Heaven Squad so that she could be useful to them, but she was just a pawn for the Song family. And then her master just left her without saying anything. And when the big Song family fortune was split up, no one remembered her. No one wanted to give her anything. No one even wanted to so much as say hi to her, yet she didn't think much about it. No one in the Song family had wanted to get revenge, while only she endured the hardships to go to the hidden sex tournament all in order to get revenge for the Song family. When she went to the tomb that night, she even almost lost her life. But what was even more tragic was that she lost her virginity to the enemy she set out to kill. It was after she got pregnant with Momo and gave birth to her that she finally found a little aspiration in life. She forgot about the conflicts concerning the Song family and Yimo, and she only thought about Yimo in her heart. Sometimes she would even reminisce about the time she spent with him. But that was all a dream. Yiling suddenly felt like the young woman seemed a bit shaky, and she quickly came over to help her. "Big sister, what's wrong? Are you all right?" Song Yangzhu shook her head. "I'm fine. Perhaps I'm just a bit tired, but I'll be fine soon. I should be going." Xiaoling, this girl's eyes look like brothers. Tang Beiwei walked over and saw that the girl's eyes looked exactly like Yimo's. Yiling also saw this and said joyfully, "They really do. If brother were to be carrying this kid, I would think it's his child for sure. Brother should be having one soon too, maybe next year," Tang Beiwei said. "This little girl is really cute though. Here, big sister will give you this." Yiling took off the bracelet she was wearing and put it on the little girl. Song Yangzhu quickly refused. "We can't accept that. We just met. How could we take such an expensive gift? Yiling pushed it back and said, "Sister, I really like this kid. Her eyes really look like my brother's. My brother gave me this bracelet." Hearing this, Song Yangzhu didn't push it away anymore and just said thank you. Tang Beiwei just wanted to ask for the girl's name when her phone rung. After the call, the two quickly bid Song Yangzhu and the girl farewell. Song Yangzhu looked at the two and stood there in silence for a long time. Then she carried her daughter to the roadside and sat down. She had been looking for Yimo for a few months, and this was what she got. What would she even do if she found Yimo at this time? Ruin his wedding? Did Yimo owe her anything? Despite their enmity, he had saved her more than once. When night fell, Song Yangzhu calmed her heart. She felt the luminous pearl in her bag. That was the only Yi-mo had left her. Although she really wanted to leave Luo Yu City that very night, she also really wanted to see Yi-mo again too. Or perhaps she just wanted her daughter to see her dad once. Perhaps he never would have thought he already had a daughter. Song Yangju laughed at herself and walked to a nearby hotel. On the first day of the new year, the entire Luo Yu city was covered in festive colors. In order to thank the founder of Luo Yu, Yi-mo, for his contributions, City Lord Su Yuehua would be the bridesmaid and walk through the main street of Luo Yu with the two beautiful brides. Ning Qingxue finally realized her dream. She had always wanted to wear the bride's veil and walk around the city with the person she loved. Today, her dream was finally realized. The main street of Luo Yu was very busy. People heard that there would not only be two beautiful brides, but also one very handsome bridegroom, hearing the intense good wishes and applause. Even someone like Yi-mo, who didn't like overly populated places, felt proud. He had built this place, and he had done so for Qingxue. While the city was named after Luoying, Luoying and Ning Qingxue leaned blissfully on Yi-mo's side as the limousine slowly took them to Luo Yu Lake. No words could describe their happiness right now. They liked to keep a low profile in general, but with their husband. So what if they acted high-key this once? Besides, they were just seeing their own city. This was where they would be living in the future, in this peaceful, calm, and beautiful city. Meanwhile, Song Yangju was holding her daughter and watching amongst the crowd. Looking at the grandiloquent wedding car with Yi-mo and his two brides in it, she felt like crying. Yi-mo had married two beautiful wives at once, but she wasn't among them. She had seen Ning Qingxue before, but she had gotten only more beautiful. As she wore a white wedding gown, she looked like a heavenly goddess. Her face was covered in happiness and pride. Her hands were clasped tightly together with Yi-mo's, not wanting to let go for even a second. Meanwhile, the woman on the other side, instead of saying she's just like a goddess, it would be more fitting to say, how could a goddess compare to her? Her wedding gown was also white, and Song Yangju believed she had never seen a woman prettier than her. Her smile was very calm and soft. It was clear that all her heart and mind was on Yi-mo as well. As though feeling Song Yangju's eyes, that woman looked at her. Song Yangju quickly looked down. She felt deeply insecure. She felt like she was an ugly duck compared to the two girls next to Yi-mo. She could no longer stop the bitterness in her heart, and her tears fell on her daughter's face and into her mouth. Perhaps due to the salty taste, the little girl started crying. Song Yangju quickly left the crow and wiped her tears as she calmed the baby down. But the daughter started crying more and more. Song Yangju quickly uttered, "Don't cry, Momo, don't cry." But the baby kept crying. "Momo, Yi-mo, if you keep crying, Mommy will leave you here." Afraid that her daughter's cries were affecting others, Song Yangju started to threaten her daughter. But the more she threatened, the more her daughter cried. Song Yangju started to feel bad. And so she softened her voice again. "Yi-mo, don't cry. Mommy will take you home." More and more tears dripped from her face, and they fell on her daughter's face, who then began to cry more. Finally, the people around them started feeling annoyed and told her to take her child away. Chapter 690, Drunk Girl. Chapter 690. Drunk girl Yi-mo had a sudden heartache when he heard a kid cry in the crowd. He scanned his spirit sense out and saw a woman carrying a child, but they quickly disappeared from his spirit sense range. He felt that figure seemed familiar, but he couldn't remember from where. What happened? Luo Ying's whole heart was on Yi-mo, so she immediately noticed his emotions. Ning Qingxue also felt it and grasped Yi-mo's hand, staring at him worriedly. Yi-mo looked at them and smiled. "We're at Luo Yu Lake. The wedding ceremony is about to begin. Perhaps I'm a little nervous." "Sister, His status is so high in Luo Yu. And Jiqi had come with another girl near her age to see Luo Yu's biggest wedding. She recognized Yi Mo immediately, and Ning sighed. She finally understood how Yi Mo could get her into Luo Yu so easily, and how he could get Yu Miaodan to take her there. She also finally realized why the young master of the Chiu family and Han Dan were that scared when they saw him. The only thing she didn't get was why wasn't Su Jingwen there. Both of his wives were pretty, but Su Jingwen wasn't bad either. If she wasn't wrong, Yi Mo definitely was not just simply the founder of the company. She could tell that Su Yuehua's attitude to Yi Mo was that of an inferior to a superior. Yi Mo might be the real master of Luo Yu City. Thinking about this, and Ning breathed heavily. Was Yi Mo the owner of Luo Yu? It sounded crazy. If he didn't go around with so many girls, Yi Mo, who had his own country, was on a whole different level to those young high-class men she knew. Luo Tsang. Qi Wanqing had returned there. She had left a few years ago and just came back. Her mother told her that the Qi family would be living there now. She was planning to come back from England after 2 years, but her parents insisted that she finished a double bachelor degree before she returning. She had lost contact with Ning Qingxue in England, and she couldn't contact her when she got back. She couldn't contact Yi Mo either. Qi Wanqing had gone to the army. With Qi, Lu Lin, and even Fong Wei were gone. She couldn't even find out where they had gone after from the army. Perhaps I've been gone for too long. Qi Wanqing felt disappointed. She only had the little wolf that Yi Mo gave her for company. It hadn't grown a lot bigger, but it could communicate with her telepathically. Has Brother Yi married Sister Qingxue or his auntie? That girl that looks like a goddess? Qi Wanqing sighed again. She felt that she had been very lonely, both before and after she went abroad. She laughed at herself. She was supposed to be there for an arranged date, but all she could do is think about Brother Yi and whether or not he was married. Qi Wanqing rubbed her head. She knew that no matter if Yi Mo was married or not, her family would not allow her to be with him. He was an abandoned son, kicked out of the family. I have the courage to run with you, but I don't know where to, Qi Wanqing said to herself as she shook her head. She walked into a luxurious bar. As she went inside, she realized she didn't know why the arranged date was at a bar. It was strange. Although the mood in the bar was right, she still didn't really like it. When it was dinner time, there weren't many people in the establishment. There were only a few people sitting at the bar drinking. The only thing Qi Wanqing noticed was that there was a woman drinking at a corner of the bar by herself. She seemed to be thinking a lot. Her eyes were also dilated. What shook Qi Wanqing was that she was a very pretty girl. Qi Wanqing was very confident in her looks. Only against Ning Qingxue and that goddess-like woman she felt diminished. However, this girl was better than her in both looks and temperament. She got an indescribable feeling, as though that girl was about to ascend into the immortal realm. Why was a girl like her drinking alone in a bar? If someone had broken her heart, then what kind of cruel-hearted man could do that to such a girl? Wanqing, this way. Just when Qi Wanqing was confused, someone called her from another table. Qi Wanqing turned around to see a tall, handsome young man smiling at her from another table. She immediately realized that he was her arranged date, Gu Yinsheng. The Luo Tsang Gu family was the biggest family in Luo Tsang right now. They were still nothing compared to the 5 big families of China, but in Luo Gang, they were the local power. Even in the Jiangnan province, they were a well-known family. Qi Wanqing knew why her family wanted her to go on a arranged date with Gu Yinsheng. After leaving the army, the Qi family's power had declined greatly, and in order to develop their ties in Luo Tsang, they needed someone to get married into the Gu family to maximize their profit. Honestly, Gu Yinsheng wasn't bad. At least she didn't hate him. Yet she hated how her family used her as a commodity. Due to this decision, her relationship with her parents hadn't been going well. Gu Insheng was contemptuous about his arranged date. He had never thought he needed an arranged date to get married, so he had chosen a not-so-serious place to meet up, a bar. He wanted to show that he wasn't very serious about this. He had come without even looking at Qi Wanqing's photo. To him, it was just a job to do. But when he saw Qi Wanqing walk into the bar, his eyes lit up immediately. He had seen many girls before, but never one as youthful and pretty as Qi Wanqing. She was the epitome of innocence and beauty. She was a round one, 68 and didn't wear high heels. Her skin was white, and her eyebrows were perfect. Her curves were clearly defined. I want this girl. That was the only thought Gu Insheng had. He had never thought he could meet such a pretty girl through an arranged date. As the next in line to the family leader, Gu Insheng had seen plenty of women and been with too many. However, for the first time, he saw one that he wanted to marry. Hello, I'm Gu Insheng. I'm studying a Bachelor of Finance and Management in Luo Tsang University. Gu Insheng reached out his hand. He knew what to say depending on the woman. For a girl as pure and innocent as Qi Wanqing, it was obvious she hadn't been in a relationship yet. Qi Wanqing had an apologetic smile. I'm not used to shaking hands with strangers, sorry. Gu Insheng's mouth shook, but he reacted quickly and pulled his hand back. What do you want to drink? He controlled the mood quickly. He was confident that with his experience he could make her fall for him easily. I'll have a cup of juice. Right after Qi Wanqing replied, she heard a voice say, I don't want you to give that to me. You're not EMO. Qi Wanqing looked back and saw the woman again, who seemed to be completely drunk now. She had an empty cup in her hand and was saying something to the man sitting opposite to her. Chapter 691. Night of the Wedding. Chapter 691. Night of the wedding. Qi Wanqing got up immediately, walked up to the girl, and said to that man, What's going on? The man showed his hands innocently and said, This girl had been drinking from noon till now. I asked her where she lived, so I can send her home, but she's not moving. Who are you to her? Qi Wanqing studied the man. Her detective experience made her feel that the man didn't know the girl. The man said casually, I saw her here at noon, and she's been drinking until now. She still wanted to keep drinking, so I was worried about her and offered to send her back. Qi Wanqing sneered. Anyone could see how pretty this girl was. She had been drinking from noon till now, so this man having been waiting from noon till now meant that he clearly wanted to send her back after she was drunk. Thinking about this, she said to the man, Then thank you, but now that I'm here, your help is no longer required. I can send her back. The man just wanted to say something when Gu Insheng walked over and asked, What's wrong? Wanqing? Gu Insheng also saw the drunk girl, and a sliver of shock flashed across his eyes. It was already a huge fortune to be able to see Qi Wanqing, but now he saw a girl perhaps even a little better than Qi Wanqing. What day was today? Gu Insheng was wondering about what would be happening next. Nothing, my friend is drunk, so I'll be sending her back. Qi Wanqing was going to drag the drunken girl home. The girl saw Qi Wanqing and looked surprised. Qingxue, how come you're here? Aren't you getting married today? Qi Wanqing confirmed now that this girl knew Yemo for sure. But soon she thought of the latter half of her words, and Qi Wanqing grabbed her hand and asked, You're saying Ning Qingxue is getting married? With whom? With Brother Yi? Brother Yi? Pour me another cup. I need to celebrate. The girl was acting more and more drunk. The man heard the two's words and realized that the girl didn't lie to him. They really knew each other. But he then noticed Gu Insheng and said in horror, CEO Gu. Gu Insheng nodded and ignored the man. He looked at Qi Wanqing and said, The hotel across the street belongs to me. So how about you bring your friend there and stay for a night? Qi Wanqing pulled the girl and smiled. No need. My home is close by, so I don't need to stay in a hotel. Goodbye. As this happened, Gu Inching's face turned bleak. He stared at the man and asked, "What's your name?" "CEO Jiu. I'm Zheng Sun, Gu Mingnan's classmate." "I have seen you once," the man quickly replied. "Tell me about that girl." Gu Inching pointed at the opposite chair and sat down himself. "Yes, CEO Gu." Zheng Sun quickly sat down opposite Gu Inching. Luo Yu Lake was extra beautiful today, but even without decorations, it was already the most beautiful place in Luo Yu. Yi Mo didn't invite the Beijing Yi family, so the only family members who came were Ning Zhongfei, Lan Yu Yiling, Tang Beiwei, and Yi Zifeng. Although she cared a lot about her daughter, Lan Yu could still accept Yi Mo marrying her daughter and Su Su at the same time. After all, Yi Mo was no ordinary person. To Ning Zhongfei, it didn't matter as long as his daughter was happy. If it wasn't for Yi Mo, his daughter would be a concubine now. He was 120% satisfied about Yi Mo. Yi Mo was a capable person and had saved both his wife and daughter in America. As for his company, it had already joined Luo Yu. He was very satisfied with Luo Yu too. It was the place he and his wife wanted to live. After a while, all the people left, and only Yi Mo, Luo Ying, and Ning Qingxue were left in the mansion. Luo Ying pushed Ning Qingxue into the bedroom and planned on leaving, but Ning Qingxue grabbed Luo Ying's hand and said, "Sister Luo Ying, don't leave, stay here." Luo Ying smiled and said, "We said that I'll come later, right? It's your first time, dash." Luo Ying, Yi Mo couldn't help but call out to her too. Although he knew that it was Ning Qingxue's first time, and that Luo Ying wanted them to be alone, he was still a little anxious. He knew what he wanted to say, but he didn't know how to explain it to Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue. Luo Ying walked up to Yi Mo, put her arms around his neck, and kissed him. Then she smiled and left. Yi Mo knew that she was assuring him. With that kiss, Yi Mo felt strong. No matter what happened in the future, he would never leave Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue behind. They were his life. Cultivation was important, but there were some things more important than cultivation. Without Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue, so what if he lived for thousands of years? As though feeling what Yi Mo was thinking, Ning Qingxue walked up and rested on Yi Mo's chest. Looking at Ning Qingxue, a fire rose in Yi Mo's heart. He thought about the scene when Ning Qingxue went to save him under the Shen Nong Jia cliff, and how she slept in his arms and he almost reached his hands into her chest. Thinking about this, he couldn't help but reach his hand into Ning Qingxue's collar. When Yi Mo's warm hands grabbed her sturdy chest, Ning Qingxue moaned. Her face burst red like the leaves of autumn, and her eyes became dreamy as she was barely able to mutter the words, "Carry me to the bed." When Ning Qingxue felt all her clothes be taken off by Yi Mo, she felt like she was on fire. She squeezed herself into Yi Mo's arms as a certain wet feeling rose from her stomach. When Yi Mo's hands completely surrounded her, she could feel her heart beating rapidly. She had thought of this scene more than once and had even dreamed about it, but when it really came, she found it hard to control herself. Yi Mo's broad, sturdy chest and his masculine smell made her lose herself. As Ning Qingxue moaned happily, Yi Mo felt an indescribable satisfaction. He didn't think that the famous cold-looking prettiest girl of Beijing, Ning Qingxue, would be so sensitive. Her body was soft like the clouds, while her temperature could melt him. A piercing pain suddenly came, and Ning Qingxue knew what it was. She subconsciously tightly hugged Yi Mo's shoulders and suddenly remembered when she had Luo Ying asked about this a few days before. "Sister Luo Yu, was the first time painful? Do I need to bite him or clasp his shoulders like the books say? Were you like that?" Luo Ying said, "By the time I felt the pain, he had already imprinted himself in my heart, and I knew I was always in his heart too. I didn't want him to feel pain like me, so I just wanted him to hug me tightly. Pain was temporary, while the stunning joy and satisfaction lasted longer. Ning Qingxue could no longer resist the love in her heart and grabbed Yi Mo's neck, sticking her tongue into Yi Mo's mouth. When the morning sun rose, Ning Qingxue opened her eyes to find Luo Ying already laying on the other side of Yi Mo. She reached her hand across Yi Mo's chest and grabbed Luo Ying's hand. Sister Luo Ying. Chapter 692, Coming to Duan Hung 7 Stars Again. Chapter 692, Coming to Duan Hung 7 Stars Again. When Su Jingwen woke up, she found herself laying on a bed without her jacket. She was shocked. Her head buzzed as she fell into a hell of horror. She remembered she had been drinking for the whole afternoon, and someone tried to send her home. Then Su Jingwen calmed down. She had never drunk outside. However, because it had been Yi Mo's wedding yesterday and she hadn't been one of the brides, she drank to ease the pain. She immediately uncovered the blanket and found her body was fine. Had she not been raped? "You're awake." Qi Wanqing walked inside and quickly said, "And you are?" Su Jingwen looked strangely at Qi Wanqing. She understood that probably this girl had brought her back. Thinking about this, she asked, "Did you bring me back last night?" "Yes, I happened to be at the bar and saw you were drunk, so I took you to my house. I'm Qi Wanqing. What's your name?" Qi Wanqing smiled and asked. Su Jingwen immediately calmed down and heaved a sigh of relief. She replied, "Sorry for causing you trouble yesterday. I'm Su Jingwen dash what? You're Su Jingwen?" Qi Wanqing claimed with surprise. "Do you know me?" Su Jingwen looked at Qi Wanqing. She didn't know her. Qi Wanqing waved her hand. "I heard Qingxue talk about you. I lived with her for a while. When it was your birthday, Yi Mo danced the first dance with you. So, you know Qingxue?" Su Jingwen also got happy, yet after hearing about Yi Mo, her expression seemed a little melancholic. "What's wrong?" she asked shakily. "Sister Jingwen, did Yi Mo get married?" Su Jingwen nodded, but she soon noticed Qi Wanqing's mood. She stared at Qi Wanqing in surprise. Was this girl connected to Yi Mo too? How come he knew every pretty girl out there? Qi Wanqing laughed at herself and quickly said, "Brother Yi saved me and gave me a little wolf. I like him, but I know my family wouldn't let us be together. Also, he has someone he likes, so Sister Jingwen, don't think too much about it. I went on an arranged date yesterday, and then I saw you dash, so that was it." Su Jingwen finally understood. She was quite like Qi Wanqing. Sometimes if you don't pursue what you want, it won't belong to you. Su Jingwen sighed, but soon she became a little grump. Had she not tried her best? Yi Mo never even gave her a chance. The night before, while Ning Qingxue and Luo Ying were lying in his arms, she was getting drunk in a bar. Su Jingwen laughed at herself. "What's wrong, Sister Jingwen?" Qi Wanqing repeated the question. Su Jingwen shook her head and didn't reply. "By the way, Sister Jingwen, do you know who Brother Yi married? Is it Qingxue?" Qi Wanqing really wanted to know who had managed to marry Brother Yi. Su Jingwen nodded. "Yes, but he took 2 brides at the same time, Qingxue and Luo Ying. His sister Yiling told me, so dash he married 2 women." This dash, Qi Wanqing's eyes were wide open in shock. "How could that be?" Su Jingwen smiled bitterly and said after a long while, "Because Luo Yu is his. The country is also his." "What?" Qi Wanqing was completely astonished. She hadn't expected that Luo Yu, which dominated world politics and caught the attention of the world, was Yi Mo's. After their wedding, Yi Mo stayed with Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue every day. They also knew that he was leaving soon, so they clung on to him even more. The last few months they had been to a lot of places and been to Nei more than once, but they never saw the snow fox again. Ning Qingxue was at stage 3 now, and although she couldn't fly on the flying sword yet, she could control it to attack. Tang Beiwei had become a lot quieter after getting the flying sword. She had gotten more hardworking when it came to cultivation. Yi Ling, however, couldn't cultivate as Tang Beiwei did, so she could only practice ancient martial arts. Luo Ying also reached stage 2. When Yi Mo asked her about the diary, she always smiled, but she didn't bring up anything about it. 3 months later, Luo Yu was on the right track, and all the jobs were ongoing without any interruptions. Yi Mo bid farewell to Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue, and left Luo Yu himself. He knew that if he stayed in Luo Yu, he would only age and die like an ordinary person. His fortune had decided that if he didn't look for fortune, his path of cultivation would be much harder than Ning Qingxue or Luo Ying's. Yi Mo could even imagine that if he stayed in Luo Yu, one day he would be old, but Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue might have reached foundation establishment state. In this case, they could only watch him die slowly without being able to do anything. They might even try to follow him. That wasn't what he wanted. Luo Fei was looking at the 3 newlyweds from afar. Yi Mo was married, and her little martial sister didn't know for sure. But so what if she did? If she went into the small realm, she wouldn't be able to come out, and Yi Mo wouldn't be able to go in. Luo Fei sighed and left. Yi Mo searched in the Antarctica for a long time, but he still didn't find the blue bag and Jiqi had talked about. According to her, Dongfang Wang had put some things in there. The reason he had come to find what Dongfang Wang had left there was because Yi Mo felt that he was a threat. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have a way to find where Shi Tang was, he would have already killed Dongfang Wang. But Yi Mo didn't mind that much. Dongfang Wang's current power was unable to do anything to Luo Yu. Moreover, Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue were already at stage 3 qi gathering. Yi Mo then went to Duanheng Ranges. Although he wanted to go to the small world at once without 7 spirit stones or people with spirit root, the only thing he could do was to try with his 3 spirit stones. Sinsenli village was also at the Duanheng Ranges, and he had met Luo Ying there. He went back to visit the place. He wanted to see if that house was still here. But when Yi Mo arrived, the place was deadly silent. Although there were still a few women washing clothes, it was no longer boisterous like before. He walked around and found that there was quite a lot of yin qi there. There were no longer kids playing around. The yin qi was invisible, but it had affected people significantly. Although he didn't know what was going on, he wouldn't let the yin qi stay there and harm them. He took out his yin sha bead and sucked all the yin qi in the place with it. Just when Yi Mo was about to ask what was going on, a red line flashed across his eyes and dashed into the depth of the Duanheng Ranges. Yi Mo started chasing it without thinking. It was a ghost that had almost materialized. It wasn't the first time Yi Mo encountered one of them. The ghost seemed to fear him greatly and ran faster when it saw Yi Mo was after him. Yi Mo followed the red line and realized that he had arrived at where he wanted to go in the first place, the valley of the Duanheng 7 Stars. "Dao friend, save me," the ghost shrieked. "Is it you?" Yi Mo saw that the nun Jie Sun was standing on the Tian Ko position. He didn't expect the nun to still be there. Her blood and essence were strong. It was obvious she had recovered her powers. Her face was also ruder and seemed younger. Chapter 693. Rematch with Jie Sun. Chapter 693. Rematch with Jie Sun. The nun also noticed Yi Mo, but she never got to see how he had gotten there. "Ha ha!" The nun laughed. "Just when I was about to go after you, you came here yourself. Kid, if I didn't teach you a good lesson, I would have lived all these decades for nothing." Yi Mo didn't expect that old woman to still be there. It seemed like she had a way to leave. If she really could enter the small world, perhaps he could use it too. Thinking about this, Yi Mo laughed. "Do you think you can teach me a lesson? You're old and ugly. Even if you strip naked, I would puke." Yi Mo suddenly stopped speaking. He saw more than 10 bodies. They had all been dried up. Some had even been dried to the bone. "You're asking to die." The moment Jie Sun heard this, her face got crooked. She stood up on the stone and was about to attack. The ghost suddenly flew to her side and shrieked, "I have unquenchable enmity with this person. My master was killed by him at the foot of the Broken Top Mountain, and my brother was also burned by him." Yi Mo immediately understood what the ghost meant. He stared coldly at it. "So you're the other ghost pet of that old hag. You were lucky that I didn't find you that time, but today you won't be so lucky." Then Yi Mo looked coldly at Jie Sun. He said in a freezing tone, "No wonder so many people from the Enli village have gone missing. It was your doing, you scum. You joined forces with ghosts to kill innocent people." The ghost had used Yin Qi to help Jie Sun find those with spiritual root. Then they would take them there, to the Tian Ko position, to suck their blood and essence out of the person. Afterwards, the dead person's soul would be devoured by the ghost. Although the ghost had formed a red line, it meant no threat to Yi Mo at all. Meanwhile, Jie Sun was at half-step great heaven according to Luo Yin. Still, he had no pressure dealing with that at all. Yi Mo estimated that he was about as strong as Rinping Chuan right now. And with his flying sword, he could beat a fully powered Rinping Chuan. Jie Sun's expression was very dark. She seemed to have realized that she was no good in a swearing contest against Yi Mo. However, in her eyes, he was just an insect. She raised her hand, and a horsetail whisk appeared in it. She just took one step forward, but the horsetail whisk reached over 10 meters and smashed down on Yi Mo's head. The ghost also shrieked and flew toward his forehead. So fast. Was this the power of a half-step great heaven martial artist? Yi Mo focused. He threw a fireball at the ghost while punching the horsetail whisk. Crack, sizzle, Yi Mo was struck by the whisk and thrown many meters away. Yi Mo took a lotus life pill without hesitation. He was sure that the nun wasn't at half-step great heaven. His fist bone had been cracked from the attack. Jie Sun flew even further away and stumbled before spitting blood. She looked at Yi Mo in shock for a few seconds. She said very carefully, "You reached great heaven too, and you can even use inner fire. I underestimated you." Despite so, Jie Sun was very surprised. How old was Yi Mo even? Still, he was already at great heaven, and he seemed even stronger than her. If he hadn't had to also deal with the ghost, she wouldn't just be spitting blood now. She wanted to leave there now. The 7-star formation could be opened. If she suddenly ran to the Tianko position and used her qi, would she be able to leave? Yet she was unsatisfied. There were 2 golden pages of the Ni Luo Sutra on him. That was her main purpose. Luckily, she had reached great heaven there, but after that, she realized the importance of the Ni Luo Sutra. Had she also reached great heaven? Yi Mo immediately realized that the nun had broken through great heaven there. Luckily, he had had some fortune recently too and had reached stage 5 tertiary level from stage 4 middle level. Otherwise, he would be no match for this nun. The ghost got burned by Yi Mo's fireball, and it became even dimmer. It no longer dared to approach Yi Mo and retreated into the valley. It had decided to run as soon as it got the opportunity. Yi Mo didn't bother with the ghost either. He gave Jie Sun a deadly stare. No matter what, he wasn't going to let her go today. She had killed so many innocent from the village, and she still had the golden page. Yi Mo had to capture her. He also could see that the horsetail whisk was no ordinary weapon. He actually hadn't broken it. When Jie Sun saw a sword suddenly appear in Yi Mo's hand, her eyes twitched. She didn't even see how Yi Mo had taken it out. Now, she had less confidence in defeating Yi Mo. "I want to make a deal with you. If you're willing, I can dash." Jie Sun truly wanted to kill him immediately, but she held back after thinking about the golden pages. She believed that if Yi Mo could give her the pages, she would kill the ghost and give him a near heaven stage ancient martial arts cultivation method. But before Jie Sun could finish, Yi Mo started laughing. "Old nun," I said, I'm not interested in an old woman like you. Stop trying to seduce me with this rotten business. Don't discuss me. Yi Mo wanted to enrage the nun and make her lose control. Although he was sure he could kill her, he didn't want any accidents to happen. You're asking to die. Jie Sun was so angry that she didn't care about the deal anymore. Her horsetail whisk with thousands of strands was thrown towards Yi Mo. She had used almost all of her power in this attack. At the same time, the ghost suddenly came out from a corner and ran into the valley. He had chosen the perfect timing. Yi Mo knew this and threw another fireball. Even if it meant him suffering a little, he wouldn't let this ghost run away. A petrified howl sounded. Yi Mo didn't have the time to check if the ghost was gone. His flying sword clashed with the horsetail whisk. The flying sword cut the front part of the horsetail whisk, but Jie Sun's inner chi also stopped the flying sword's momentum. However, Jie Sun didn't seem perplexed or shocked that her horsetail whisk was broken. She just kept attacking Yi Mo like a maniac. Another part of the horsetail whisk was cut off, but the broken part turned into needles and attacked Yi Mo's vitals. Yi Mo watched his flying sword pierce Jie Sun's waist, which started bleeding. But she didn't seem to notice this and just kept attacking him. Had his words really made the nun lose her mind? Did she not see that, if she continued, her horsetail whisk would be cut down to nothing? Countless broken segments flew towards Yi Mo, but they couldn't harm him. Splash! Yi Mo's flying sword pierced Jie Sun's waist again. Yi Mo realized that the nun hadn't lost her mind. She would avoid her vitals every time the flying sword struck her. Yi Mo sneered. Just when he was about to control the flying sword to attack again, the countless horsetail's whisk suddenly exploded. Yi Mo hadn't expected that such a small horsetail whisk could have that kind of feature. No wonder she didn't care if they were sliced off. Bang, 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 dash. Yi Mo felt pain all over his body. He grabbed the flying sword. He was about to jump when a black object struck him in the chest in the middle of the explosion. Yi Mo spat blood. He knew that was Jie Sun's final move. She was giving up her horsetail whisk. In his rage, Yi Mo sent out his flying sword to kill the nun, but he found her already standing on the stone. Not good. She was running away. Without thinking, Yi Mo charged and grabbed her chest. The clothes in front of her were ripped off by Yi Mo, unveiling a shocking whiteness. 2 fat buns broke free, dazzling Yi Mo's eyes. Arg! Jie Sun screamed and immediately disappeared from Yi Mo's sight. He subconsciously looked at the clothes in his hands, but before he could think, a huge suction came from the ground, and he couldn't resist it at all. Chapter 694. Amazing Grab. Chapter 694. Amazing Grab. Yi Mo came from the cultivation realm, so he knew what was going on. It was either a teleporting formation or a strongly hidden space formation. This suction wasn't normal. In other words, he wasn't using the normal method to come in. If it were a space formation, he might have been torn apart. Thinking about this, Yi Mo started sweating. He immediately used his chi to protect himself, despite knowing that if it really was a space formation, his chi wouldn't even last half a breath. Without even mobilizing his chi had already ruptured inside his body and had charged at his organs and meridians. In an extremely short time, it was sucked away, and his meridians started cracking. If he hadn't greatly increased the wideness of his meridians' tenacity last time, Yi Mo suspected that his meridians wouldn't have been able to withstand this pull. But even so, if things continued like this, he might be torn apart the next second. Bang! Just when Yi Mo was in despair, the pulling force disappeared, and he was thrown down from the sky. The huge crash made him spit mouthfuls of blood. He wasn't dead. Yi Mo's first reaction was to see if Jie Sun was nearby, trying to sneakily attack him. However, he soon found that Jie Sun wasn't there. He was at a barren road. Yi Mo could rest assured, so he checked his body. He didn't have any chi left, and there were gashes all over his body. Yemo cursed. He was sure that Jiesun had used abnormal means to open the formation, causing a special compression. Luckily, the space hadn't intertwined, or he would be torn into pieces. Yemo's first reaction was to take out a Lotus Life pill, but when he grabbed the bottle he realized that it was empty. He had taken the last one while fighting Jiesun. Yemo's heart sunk. It was his first time there, the legendary inner hidden sex realm. There were countless masters there, but he didn't have any power at all. He still had 4 snow lotus seeds, but they were useless. Without supplementary herbs, he couldn't turn them into pills. Even if he had them, before recovering his chi, he wouldn't be able to make Lotus Life pills. Luckily, he had the lotus flower. Although it was a waste to eat it just like that, the most important thing was that he recovered his strength. He plucked a petal and placed it into his mouth. Then, Yemo looked at what was in his hand. It was a red belly vest. Yemo was dazed. Jiesun was even older than Jingxi, but she wore a belly vest like this. It seemed like she was also a kinky old lady. Yemo examined the belly vest. There was a pocket attached to it, which he opened without hesitation. The faint golden light almost made Yemo scream. It was the golden page he had been looking so hard for. Ha ha! Yemo couldn't help to start laughing. All the bad feelings were gone. It had been such an amazing grab. What would that old woman's face look like when she found out that not only had she showed her body, but that she also had lost the golden page? Yemo was very satisfied thinking about this. After laughing, Yemo immediately realized that something wasn't right. He didn't know much about the small world. If the place wasn't big, and it only had a bunch of hidden sects, wouldn't he be found soon? Also, if that Jiesun nun realized that he had taken the golden page, would she tell everyone that he had it? If she released these news, he would really be in danger. Yemo calmed down. He knew that the first thing he had to do now was recover his strength and then make plans. He wanted to find a place to rest and recover after eating the lotus petal. As for the facial wounds, it didn't matter that much. It was very easy to remove the scars from the exploding whisk. He only needed to eat a face-preserving pill. Thinking about this, Yemo thought he might as well leave the scars and take the pill after he left the small world. Before he could move, his spirit sense scanned a cart coming from the road. Without thinking, Yemo threw his things into the ring and moved to the side of the road. If he hadn't been so badly injured and dried out of his chi, he wouldn't have avoided strangers like this. He was just too weak and slow. By the time he reached the side of the road, the cart and a squad of people were there. Why did the cart stop? What's going on? A coarse voice sounded from the inside of horse carriage. A guard ran to the carriage and said, "Young miss, there's a heavily injured person on the side of the road. He's moving rather slowly. We need to wait for him to cross before the horse carriage can pass." "Oh, let me see." The blind was pulled to the side, and a pretty face inside the carriage was revealed. Yemo felt something was off. How could the cart be pulled by horses, and how could there be guards leading the road? Also, had they called the girl young miss? Had he transmigrated to the past? He had thought he just came to a small world. Even if there was a difference in technological development, it shouldn't be a huge gap. After all, the inner hidden sex people could go out. But the dirty road he saw and the horse carriages had nothing to do with the modern world. He could see the girl's face in the carriage. She wasn't ugly, and she didn't look bad. She was at most on the level of Njichi. The girl's eyebrows went up. She had some authority in gestures. It was obvious she had her own opinion about things and quite the temper. These people were usually spoiled young misses. Yemo didn't want to mess with her. Thinking about this, he looked down and moved a few steps back. "Interesting," the young girl smiled as she said. Suddenly, she started speaking again. "Bring this person with us. Let him rest on the carriage behind." She saw Yemo was covered in blood, and his face didn't have a single bit of good skin, but when he looked at her, he didn't seem scared. Then he looked down again, perhaps because she was too pretty and he felt self-conscious. So the moment she saw Yi Mo, she thought of a great idea. "Young miss, we don't know who this person is. Are we really going to take him with us?" The guard hesitated and asked. The girl suddenly took out a handkerchief and wiped her eyes. "Yes, look after him. Don't ask any more questions." Then she muttered to herself, "His face was ruined." Afterwards, she pulled the blinds down. The guard looked confusedly at Yi Mo and then at the young miss. Did she know this guy? But he knew that regardless of what the young miss decided, he had to follow her orders well, or he would be gone. "What's your name? Where do you come from? How are you this badly injured?" The guard asked Yi Mo in an unhappy tone. "Mo-ing, I'm a businessman, and I was robbed. So this is what happened." Yi Mo bullshit **** D his way out. And the guard obviously wasn't someone really astute. "Okay, then come with us. You can rest on our carriage. When we arrive to town, there will be someone to tend to your wounds," the guard said, and nodded. Yi Mo didn't want to go with these people. So he quickly said, "Thank you, but my situation isn't that serious. You guys can go first. I can make it back myself." Chapter 695. Unknown Origin. Chapter 695. Unknown Origin. The guard sneered, seeing that Yi Mo refused to cooperate. Before he could do anything, the girl got off the carriage quickly and walked to Yi Mo. "Come on the carriage with us. After all, you're badly injured. Don't worry, I will treat you. Although you're not good looking, you have some sort of heroic temperament. I actually dash." The girl's voice became softer and softer until she looked down eventually and stopped. Yi Mo sneered. The girl's expression didn't seem truly embarrassed, but she was acting like she was. Although Yi Mo didn't know what the girl was planning to do, he knew it had to do with him. Suddenly, a guard from the squad walked to them and said to Yi Mo coldly, "If you don't want to die, listen to young miss and come with us. Otherwise, I will kill you immediately." The guard didn't seem to respect the young miss at all. Yi Mo noticed that the girl just frowned, but didn't say anything. Yi Mo was furious. These people had nothing to do with him, but they were willing to kill him so easily. Yi Mo's heart raged with killing intent. Although he had no chi, he still had his spirit sense. He knew that even if he used his flying sword, he wouldn't be able to kill all the people there. Although the strongest man, there was the person who threatened him. He was only yellow level. That girl also looked like she was yellow level. If he had a little spirit chi, he would be fine for sure. However, he only had his spirit sense, and his internal injuries were too severe. While Yi Mo was still calculating how he was going to counterattack if they tried to kill him, the guard from before said again, "Kid, our young miss will soon become a member of the Shangqing Mountain. It's your fortune that her benevolent heart is willing to save you. If you make young Mrs. happy, perhaps she will let you follow her." Shangqing Mountain? Yi Mo frowned. Was it a cultivation sect? The guard saw Yi Mo's face and said in contempt, "You don't know about Shangqing Mountain?" "That's right. It would be strange if you knew about it. You must also not know about Qiankuan sect. Young Miss is too kind-hearted." The girl stopped the guard from talking. She stared at Yi Mo as though trying to conquer him with her beauty. There really was a Qiankuan sect there. Yi Mo was shook. He had heard about the Qiankuan sect. Luo Xian had told him the three big sects of the inner hidden sects were the Tai sect, the Qiankuan sect, and the Ci Hengjing Mosque. Yi Mo looked at the guard in confusion. What is the Qiankuan sect? Qiankuan sect is one of the three biggest sects of the magical continent, together with Tai sect and Ci Hengjing Mosque. Our young miss is going to Shangqing sect, which is a subordinate sect of Qiankuan sect. It's useless telling you this. The guard shook his head. Hearing the words magical continent, Yi Mo suddenly had a strange feeling. He felt like this place and the outside world had been one whole land before, but they had been separated due to some reason. He had read about the 5,000 years of Chinese history. If there really were Tao cultivators long time ago, many things could be explained. Perhaps due to the depletion of spirit qi, powerful beings segregated the cultivation havens, such as Shu Mountain, the legendary haven for sword cultivators. Yi Mo had looked around for it, but it wasn't just about finding a single mountain called Shu Mountain. There were many places like that. Could they all be found here? Suddenly, Yi Mo asked, "Do you know where Shu Mountain is?" "Stop talking and get on the carriage. Someone like you trying to ask about Shu Mountain." The guard was getting impatient. Yi Mo looked at the young miss and suddenly smiled. He just went onto the back carriage like that. Although he didn't know why this girl was trying to get him to join them, at least she didn't have killing intent. Perhaps this world was just as he guessed, the part of Earth that was hidden. The reason he had agreed was because he could get to know more about the hidden sex through this woman. Seeing Yi Mo go inside, the girl smiled. She had thought this guy was tough to break, but a slight threat had made him succumb. If she had known this earlier, she wouldn't have bothered flirting. Yi Mo didn't talk on the carriage, but his ears were alert. He heard from the talks of the servants that the carriage was going to a place called Ci Shi Town. This carriage entourage belonged to the Yu family, and the carriage at the front was for young Miss Yu. Yu family was one of the 3 largest families in the town. After another half a day of travel, they entered a medium-sized town at night. Yi Mo estimated that it was Ci Shi Town. This town's roads were actually made of concrete, and the building styles were like the ones in the outside world, but there were no power lines. It really looked like a rural village. The young Miss Yu didn't come bother him and sent him to a quiet room to rest. She even called an old doctor to look at him. For 3 days, Yi Mo was living comfortably. No one disturbed him, and there was even a maid to serve him. He just told her leave the things somewhere, and he would do it himself. 3 days had only allowed him to recover a sliver of qi, but Yi Mo knew that it was enough for self-protection. He didn't have lotus life pills with him, but he had 3 spirit stones. In order to recover his strength quick, he couldn't worry too much about wasting them. He used one to recover his qi, the spirit qi. There was a little better than outside, but it was still very little. 3 days later, Yi Mo walked out of the Yu family estate. It was during the day, so the town was very busy. The currencies he saw were bronze and silver coins, and he was sure that there were gold coins too. Since there were towns, it meant there had to be rulers. He wondered if a dynasty EAS ruling there. Yi Mo was about to go to a restaurant and ask some people when he saw soldiers rush into the village. He scanned his spirit sense out. There were more and more soldiers gathering. Yi Mo stopped a waiter and asked, "What are these soldiers doing?" The waiter looked at Yi Mo. When he saw the symbols on his clothes, he immediately became very respectful. "Oh, so you're a manager at Yu State. Sorry, I didn't see you there. It's said that the authorities are checking the population. Any person of unknown origin will be taken away." Yi Mo was shook. He suspected it was Jie Sun's doing. She was forcing him to show himself. Chapter 696, Mo, Babe. Chapter 696, Mo, Babe. Yi Mo didn't care much about the soldiers. However, if he caused trouble and Jie Sun found out where he was and sent some great heaven masters after him, he wouldn't be able to get away in his current state. Even at his best, he wouldn't be able to defeat a few great heaven masters together before he reached the tertiary stage of qi gathering. Thinking about this, Yi Mo couldn't stay calm anymore. He wanted to go back to the Yu estate, but he knew that if Jie Sun was searching for him, he would be found even if he went back there. Thinking about this, Yi Mo immediately wanted to go into the restaurant hotel. Instead of going back to the Yu family, he might as well run away like this. Luckily, he had gone out today, or he wouldn't even know how he died otherwise. Yi Mo just wanted to go into the restaurant when a woman with hair covering her face ran towards him. He was shook and was about to use his flying sword, but he immediately noticed that the woman didn't have any killing intent, and there were soldiers around, so if he attacked, people would notice him immediately. Thinking about this, Yi Mo stopped and let the woman grab his arm. At the same time, Yi Mo scanned the woman with his spirit sense. She was younger than 30, and there was some ash covering her face and neck. This was an ordinary woman who was weak due to malnutrition. Her hands were coarse, and it was obvious she was a farmer. However, despite her clothes being covered in dirt, she didn't have any bad smell. Instead, he could feel a faint body aroma. She might have put the ash on herself on purpose. Mo, babe, don't you want me? Why don't you come back? Mo, babe? The woman grabbed Mo and started crying. Her face looked truly sad, and soon her tears wet her clothes. Mo's face didn't change at all. Did this woman recognize the wrong person? That was impossible. His face was all ruined. There was no way some random Mo babe's face would also be ruined. How did this woman know his name was Mo? Only the U family cart squad knew his name was Mo. Did someone send this woman to test him, or was there some scheme? That wasn't it, right? He had just been there for 3 days. He didn't have any enemies other than Jiesun. As for Jiesun, she wouldn't do this. She would just attack him. Most importantly, from her tone, Yi Mo knew that she was really anguished to the extreme. Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense out. He wanted to know who set this up. He didn't believe that he looked exactly the same as this woman's Mo babe. The people on the streets quickly guessed what was going on. That man must have looked down on his wife after entering the U estate, and so he abandoned her. Now, his wife came to find him in Cishi town. Being a servant of the U estate was much better than a farmer. Everyone shook their heads, although they disapproved of Yi Mo's actions. No one would say anything to a servant of the Yu family. Yi Mo scanned around and didn't find anything out of the ordinary. But when he saw the soldiers, he suddenly had a good idea. He patted the woman, pulling his shoulders. "Is there no more rice in the family?" And the woman nodded as her stomach grumbled. It was obvious she hadn't eaten for a long time. "I just joined the U estate, so let's go in and eat something and then talk when we get back." Then Yi Mo pulled the woman into the restaurant. The onlookers saw Yi Mo get back with his wife, and they all clapped. But in one corner of the street, a triangular-eyed man looked hatefully at Yi Mo and sneered. "Big brother." The waiter saw Yi Mo bring his wife in and quickly came to greet them. Yi Mo said, "Get me a quiet room. We haven't seen each other for a long time. We need to talk. Bring your best food and wine." "No problem." The waiter was quick to act. But Yi Mo noticed that the woman's eyes were a little worried, and he began to suspect her. Did she knew that he wasn't that Mo babe of hers or not? After the waiter left, Yi Mo looked at the girl and asked, "Something happened to me, so I lost a lot of memories. Am I really your Mo babe? Or did you remember wrongly?" The woman looked worried, and just when she wanted to talk, the doors were opened and the waiter brought in a jug of tea. The triangular-eyed man looked into the door. When he saw Yi Mo and that woman, he left casually. The woman saw the man and was clearly shook. She immediately said, "Yes, I wouldn't remember wrongly. You're my Mo babe. 3 years ago, you said you were going out to do business, but you never came back. Today I came to the town and happened to meet you. I wouldn't have looked dash." The woman couldn't even keep talking anymore, as her teeth started chattering. Yi Mo understood that that should be related to that man, but at least now he had gotten another identity. If this woman firmly stood by him as his wife, then he would be able to leave the town with her. Yi Mo nodded calmly. "I said I lost my memories, so I can't remember a lot of things from before. Tell me a bit more." "I feel you're right too, but my memories are really a blur." Yi Mo's tone was calm, and the woman gradually calmed down. She cleared her thoughts and recounted. She was called Mu Xiaoren. 3 years ago, her hometown experienced a big calamity. Starvation and chaos separated her from all her family. But before she was about to die, she was taken in by an Ani from her husband's side. Their family also fell victim to the calamity, so the family left their town and came to Huangping village. By the time they did, due to the spreading of starvation and plagues, only her grandma and husband Mo Yushin remained. Mo Yushin was a scholar, but due to the hunger and destitution, he could no longer stay in the family, so he left 3 years ago. Mo found out about this man who had abandoned even his mom, much less his fiancée. She was left to take care of the mother, but her mother-in-law always said her son must have died, and that it was due to her holding him back, so she always beat and cursed at Mu Xiaoyan. However, since Mu Xiaoyan felt that her life had been saved by the in-law family, she kept looking after her mother-in-law until she died not too long ago. Looking at the crying Mu Xiaoyan, although he wasn't too sure if she had really recognized him as her husband, he could feel how bitter her life had been, and that she didn't even long after this husband too much. Probably, when she left the village after her mother-in-law died, she must have been hunted by that man. She came to him, possibly due to 2 reasons. One reason could be that he really looked like that Mo babe of hers. Another was that he was wearing the Yu family servant clothes, so he wouldn't fear that triangular-eyed man. If it was the second reason, then she thought she could run if she just scared the triangular-eyed man away. But what she didn't predict was that the triangular-eyed man would follow them to the restaurant hotel instead. After guessing this much, Mo wouldn't ask how she had recognized him. This identity just fell from the sky for free. After all, he patted his head and said, "Oh, so I'm Mo Yushin." Sigh, when I left to do business, I was smacked in the head and lost a lot of memories. Xiaoyan, it's been really hard on you these few years. Don't worry, when I quit my job at the Yu family, I will go back with you immediately. Chapter 697, Checking Identity. Chapter 697. Checking identity. Hearing that Mo would be going back with her, Mu Xiaoyan got worried. She quickly waved her hand. "Mo, dear, you don't need to go back. It's hard to find a job like that, so I'll just come to visit you. You can stay here, and I'll go back myself. I'll come visit you later." Looking at Mu Xiaoyan's expression, Mo got confused. So, did she really think he was her husband? At that moment, the waiter brought the food over. He was just using her anyways. And besides, she seemed like a decent person, so Mo would give her some wealth before he left. He might not have any coins, but he had a few 100 tons of gold. Mu Xiaoyan's eyes opened wide when she looked at the table of food. Mo knew that she must be very hungry, so he picked up some chopsticks and said, "Let's dig in. We can talk as we eat." Mu Xiaoyan didn't pick up her chopsticks, but said after staring for a long time, "Mo, dear, isn't this table of food worth a lot of money? Are we being too wasteful?" Mo didn't expect her to be thinking about that now, and coughed. I've earned quite some money these years, so don't worry, eat all you like." Seeing that Mo really didn't mind, Mu Xiaoyan carefully picked up her chopsticks and started eating. At first, the dinner was very quiet. Mo didn't know what Mu Xiaoyan's plans were, and he didn't want to expose himself by talking too much, so he rarely spoke. Mu Xiaoyan didn't speak at all. She would wait after Mo ate every dish before eating it herself. She seemed very tense and nervous. Mo was soon full. Although Mu Xiaoyan ate quite well too, there were many leftovers. As Mo scanned his spirit sense out, he noticed there were more and more soldiers. Many people wanting to go out of town were stopped. It was obvious he would have no way of going out today. "Let's go." Mo stood up. He wanted to take Mu Xiaoyan back to the Yu estate. Mu Xiaoyan looked at the leftovers and hesitated for a long time before asking, "Should we take back the leftovers?" Mo thought, if Mu Xiaoyan were really just using me, she wouldn't ask about such a thing. She would just find an opportunity to run. Suddenly, The doors opened, and another man in estate manager clothing appeared at the door. He saw Yi Mo and Mu Xiaoyan and breathed easy. Mo Ing, luckily you're here. I've been looking for you. Young Miss wants to see you, but she couldn't find you. Yi Mo just wanted to go to the estate anyway, so he quickly said, "Oh, then I'll go back immediately. I just ate here. You can pay for the food first. I'll be going ahead. Xiaoyan, let's go." Then Yi Mo pulled Mu Xiaoyan out before the man could react. When he realized what was going on, the man saw the waiter waiting for him to pay. "Mo dear, why don't I wait for you outside?" Mu Xiaoyan saw the grandiose-looking estate and didn't dare go in with Yi Mo. So Yi Mo pulled her. "Let's go in together. It's dangerous outside now." Mu Xiaoyan didn't say anything and followed behind Yi Mo carefully. "Mo Ing, where did you go? Didn't I tell you not to walk around everywhere? The young miss took you in to do things for her, not for you to wander around freely." A servant berated. Mu Xiaoyan shivered from this. Yi Mo looked coldly at him and said, "Piss off. I was hired by the young miss with a high price. If you dare talk any more **T, I'll kick you out of here." The servant didn't know Yi Mo yet, so he didn't dare speak anymore. After a while, he said, "The young miss told you to go to the guest hall. With that, I've passed the message." Then the servant quickly turned and left. Yi Mo's spirit sense scanned into the hall and saw two men wearing official clothing in the middle of recording something. That young miss, you was also inside. Yi Mo immediately understood that they were checking identities. Thinking about this, Yi Mo pulled Mu Xiaoyan and said, "Xiaoyan, let's go." Seeing Yi Mo bring back a woman, the young miss frowned, but soon returned to normal. She looked at Yi Mo and said, "Mo Ing, these two officials have some questions to ask you. You need to answer honestly." When Yi Mo saw the red-clothed man, he knew he was in danger. The man had Earth-level peak power. It would be very hard for Yi Mo to escape now if he blew his cover. The red-clothed man asked Yi Mo, "What's your name? Where do you come from? What do you do?" "My original name is Mo Yushen, and due to a disaster in my hometown, I fled to Huangping village 3 years ago. However, because there was nothing to eat in the house, I changed my name to Mo Ing and went out to do business. Just as I came back, I was robbed by bandits. Soon after, I was saved by young Miss Yu on the road, and so I have become a servant of the Yu estate now. I lost my money in phase 2, so I was too ashamed to go back to see my family. I didn't expect my wife to come find me here in Ciaishi town." Yi Mo's reply was simple, but didn't have any real content. Before the red-clothed man could say anything, young Miss Yu added, "I met Mo Ing at Hangshui half a year ago. His business was going well, but Yi Mo didn't know why this woman helped him, and he didn't know where Hangshui was either, but he wasn't going to point that out." Mu Xiaoyan was confused. She was sure Yi Mo must have lied at least once, but she wouldn't blow his cover no matter what. "Oh, what's your wife called?" The red-clothed man asked expressionlessly. "Mu Xiaoyan," Yi Mo replied. "Search Mu Xiaoyan and get me a drawing of Mu Xiaoyan and Mo Yushen," the red-clothed man ordered. "Yes." The man on the side went out and carried back many stacks of books. Yi Mo was shook. How was he going to pretend he was Mo Yushen now? There were paintings of them. Yi Mo thought rapidly. What if they found out he wasn't Mo Yushen? It was impossible to fly away, but if he couldn't do that, that Earth-level peak would be quite heavy for him to take on. If he was lucky, he would maybe manage to run out of the town, but what then? The identity system here was clearly strict. Even if he left the town, where would he go? Deep in the woods? Even if he did, it would probably be hard for him to escape. If that really happened, he could only run and leave Mu Xiaoyan behind. It didn't take long for the book and their paintings to be found. The red-clothed man looked at the painting and nodded, Put it away. Yi Mo was shook because his spirit sense had picked up that the man on the painting looked around 80% like him. If his face wasn't so ruined, perhaps it would be easy to tell he wasn't Mo Yusheng. But with the injuries, the differences were destroyed. No wonder Mu Xiaoyan thought he was her husband. Yi Mo heaved a sigh of relief, and he received a white card indicating that he had been checked. Young Miss Yu glanced at Yi Mo and Mu Xiaoyan and said plainly, "Go down to rest. I will see you tomorrow." A maid took Mu Xiaoyan to shower. Although Mu Xiaoyan said she didn't want to go, Yi Mo felt that she actually did. When she came back, Yi Mo found that Mu Xiaoyan was actually prettier than that young Miss Yu. With her tattered clothes and dirt covering her face, Yi Mo hadn't given her too much attention, but when she was washed clean, although her hands were still coarse, her face was very pretty, and the chest she had constrained before now filled up her clothes like two fat rabbits. Chapter 698. Woman Who Needs to Sleep with Someone. Chapter 698. Woman Who Needs to Sleep with Someone. Mu Xiaoyan had washed up, but she hadn't changed into new clothes. She was still wearing her old clothes with many patches here and there. Yet the coarse dress she had on was like the dress of a goddess showcasing her beauty. The first thing Yi Mo thought about was Luo Ying. When he saw Luo Ying wearing a coarse dress in that house back then, she also seemed like a goddess. Although Mu Xiaoyan wasn't as pretty as Luo Ying, she made Yi Mo think of Luo Ying. His eyes were full of longing, and he decided he should go back and reunite with them as early as possible. Mu Xiaoyan saw Yi Mo's eyes soften down and have a look of longing. She immediately looked happy and surprised. She was just a village woman, but she could read the emotions in Yi Mo's eyes. But soon, a woman's sensitivity made her realize that her Mo babe wasn't longing for her. Although he was looking at her, his eyes weren't focused on her. It was clear he was thinking about another woman. Mu Xiaoyan looked down with a sliver of despair flashing across her eyes. She was a traditional woman, and although her mother-in-law and husband weren't nice to her, she still didn't think of running away. After a long while, Yi Mo came back to his senses and looked at Mu Xiaoyan with a frown. He didn't ask her where the blood gash on her neck came from. After all, he wasn't her real husband. Still, although she recognized him wrongly, he would still tell her when he left. What made Yi Mo feel strange was that she didn't change into the new clothes. But Yi Mo didn't ask. He wasn't very curious. She had her reasons for not changing. He didn't need to ask. Mo babe. Mu Xiaoyan wanted to say something, but didn't know where to start. Yi Mo smiled. Sit down first, say what you want. Do you want to go back? If you want to go back, that's fine. After a couple of days pass, and the security stops being so strict, you can go back. No, Mu Xiaoyan waved her hand. I don't dare go back alone, but I don't feel too comfortable living here. After all, just say what you want to say. No need to hesitate, Yi Mo said. Mu Xiaoyan quickly said, this is the Yu estate after all, and Mo babe is a part of the Yu estate, but if I also started living here, I don't think the owner would be happy. Yi Mo understood now. She was scared that his job wasn't stable, and that if she stayed there too, people would get jealous, and he might lose his job. And although she wanted to leave because of that, she was scared of that triangular-eyed man. Yi Mo smiled. He couldn't really stay and work at the Yu estate. When these people left, he would leave the Yu estate immediately. He knew that young Miss Yu hadn't brought him there to be a servant anyway. Don't worry, stay here for now. I will send you back in time. Yi Mo still wanted to say something when young Miss Yu's personal maid came over. She stood at the door and looked disgustedly at Yi Mo, but still said gently, Mo Ying, our young miss invites you over? Mu Xiaoyan heard this and quickly got up carefully. Yi Mo smiled to her. Don't worry, you can wait for me here. Then he left with the maid. Mu Xiaoyan looked at Yi Mo leaving, and a look of confusion appeared in her eyes. She felt her husband had changed a lot from before. Her husband used to be very bleak and rarely talked in the past, but now he seemed very open and didn't seem to care about anything. The main thing was that he lied to at least one person, either her or the red-clothed man. He told the red-clothed man he lost his money, so he was too ashamed to go back, but he told her that he was knocked on the head and lost his memories. And in the restaurant, he said he earned a lot, but now he said his money was robbed. His stories were contradicting. Mu Xiaoyan shook her head and sat by the bed. No matter what, she liked the current Mo babe better. Although his face was ruined, it was much better than that bleak face. Yi Mo didn't expect for him to be taken to that young Miss Yu's bedroom. In the olden times, it was inappropriate to do so. I'm Yu Yuyen, and I'm sure you're curious why I brought you here, but for now, come, have a drink with me first. Yu Yuyen pointed at the dishes and bottle of wine on the table. Yi Mo didn't ask anything. Even if she tried to poison him, he wasn't scared, but he was sure she wouldn't. Seeing that Yi Mo didn't ask anything and sat down to pour himself a cup, Yu Yuyen looked satisfied and raised her cup. Mo-ing, drink. Yi Mo smiled, and every time Yu Yuyen asked to drink, he drank. Soon one bottle of wine was gone, but Yu Yuyen took out another bottle. Yi Mo saw this and realized that she wanted to get him drunk. Although he didn't know why she was doing this, Yi Mo started to slur his speech. At this moment, Yi Mo utilized the opportunity to ask about the Shangqing Mountain and Qiankuan sect. Yu Yuyen had a sliver of contempt and disgust in her eyes, but she still replied smilingly, Shangqing Mountain is a subordinate sect of the Qiankuan sect. Shangqing sect's core disciples are people even the Lian, Hua city lord wouldn't dare to offend. Yi Mo was shook. He thought of the Luo sisters. Luo Fei had never mentioned that they had such a high status in the inner hidden sections. What Yi Mo didn't know was that these important sect members spent most of their time in cultivation and rarely came to the outside world to show off. So, since you're about to enter Shangqing Mountain, your status must be very high. Yi Mo asked. Yu Yuyen looked pridefully and said, although that is the case, I'm still only an outer sect disciple for now. But with my talent, it's only a matter of time before I enter the inner sect. Is it very hard to join them? Then wouldn't it be even harder to join Tai? Do you know where Tai is? Yi Mo immediately asked. Yu Yen got even more contemptuous. Yi Mo wanted to join Tai? Who did he think he was? But Yu Yuyen still replied, every 3 years, the big sects take in disciples. Unless you become a member of the hidden sects, you will never know where it is. No disciples dare to reveal the location of the sect, or they would be killed. Of course, if you want to join the selection, in the beginning of next month at Hangshui City is where they will be taking in disciples. Yi Mo looked strangely at her. Since the selection process hasn't begun yet, how come you're already an outer sect member? Because I have an outer sect member spot card, I don't need to go to the selection. I can just enter just like that, Yu Yen said as she poured Yi Mo some wine again. After that, Yi Mo realized that she probably didn't know much more. He started to act drunk. Mo-ing, I've had a good impression of you ever since I first saw you, and I believe this is love on first sight. Don't you think so, too? Tonight, I'll sleep with you, seeing that Yi Mo was drunk enough. Yu Yuyen whispered into Yi Mo's ears gently. Yi Mo sneered, but he really didn't expect that after he collapsed onto the table, she would carry him to her bed and start undressing him. When she had taken off everything except for his underwear, Yi Mo felt creeped out. If she was going to take off his undies too, then he would stop her even if it meant exposing himself. Luckily, the woman didn't do that and just pressed Yi Mo's sturdy chest as she murmured to herself, is every man's chest this sturdy? She blushed and started undressing herself too. Chapter 699. Ruthless Chapter 699. Ruthless Yu Yian took off her top soon and just left her innermost pink layer on. She stopped there, though, as Yi Mo had expected. Yi Mo wouldn't mind if she took it all off. Then, Yu Yian quickly sat on the bed and started cultivating, not caring that Yi Mo was on her bed at all. This made Yi Mo very confused. 10 minutes later, Yi Mo scanned with his spirit sense and felt that she was really cultivating indeed. Seeing that she didn't do anything to him, Yi Mo couldn't be bothered keeping his attention on her. He took out a spirit stone and started recovering his qi as he ran meridian cycles. Yi Mo gradually went into a meditative state and forgot about Yu Yian beside him. After some time, Yi Mo suddenly felt some softness press against him. When he woke up, his qi was flowing more freely. Yi Mo estimated that if he used another lotus petal with a spirit stone, he would be able to recover in about 2 to 3 days. He might even become a little stronger. As he was now, he would already be able to go away with invisibility magic. Yu Yian was also doing inner qi cultivation, and Yi Mo understood what was going on. While he used the spirit stone to cultivate, he spilled some spirit qi. This woman really knew how to pick the right moment. She seemed to notice that she was cultivating much faster than before while leaning on him. So she came over to steal some spirit qi. Thinking about this, he put his spirit stone away without hesitation. He didn't have enough for himself. How could he give it away? Yi Mo spread his spirit sense out and noticed that it was day. Just when he wanted to get up, a group of people came in from the outside. The leading person was a man younger than 30. His skin was a little dark, he wasn't short, but his eyes were looking up in a perceivably arrogant way. This was a self-centered guy, but he seemed to have a high status. He had 2 bodyguards behind him and another middle-aged man with him. The middle-aged man looked like Yu Yian. He was probably a member of Yu Yian's family. Yi Mo knew one of the 2 guards. It was the one who threatened to kill him on the road. Liao Wei came from this far away. How come Yi Yian is still not up? The middle-aged man was seemingly reproaching the maids, but it was clear that he was calling Yu Yian out. The middle-aged man said again, "How about we drink some tea in the guest hall for now? This girl is really something." Yu Yian smiled and didn't seem to mind. One of the maids quickly ran to Yu Yian's room, while the other maid said worriedly, "Last night, young Miss drank a little too much dash then." She seemed to realize she said something she shouldn't have and quickly covered her mouth. "Yu Yian drank last night? Why did she drink?" Liao Wei frowned and asked. The maid got more worried and said with a stutter, "Not young miss, it's that Mo Ing. He wanted to drink with her last night." No dash before she finished. Liao Wei already charged into Yu Yian's room. The middle-aged man's face changed drastically, and he followed quickly. Yi Mo saw this with his spirit sense and sneered. He was used by this Yu Yian indeed, but he didn't care. As that maid knocked on the door, Yu Yian didn't get up, but instead squeezed herself into Yi Mo's arms. She even pulled her lingerie down and made her hair messy. Bang! Liao Wei charged into the room. Yu Yian suddenly got up, and when she saw Liao Wei, her face looked terrified and worried. She quickly covered her chest. Yi Mo sneered and got up, dressing himself in composure. A robust man with a messy-haired woman had clearly spent the night on the same bed. Even an idiot would know what they did. Liao Wei pointed at Yu Yian and spat out blood. Then he fainted. "You disgraceful thing." The middle-aged man was also furious at Yu Yian. He looked at Yi Mo and sneered, "Get out, now." Yu Yian looked at Yi Mo and felt strange. Usually, in this situation, that Mo Ing should be worried and say that it had nothing to do with him. Why was he acting so calm? If Yi Mo said it had nothing to do with him, then she could use that to blame Yi Mo for being irresponsible and have him killed. But he didn't say anything which made her feel unsettled instead. Soon, Yi Mo and Yu Yian were taken to the garden outside. Liao Wei had recovered by then, but his face was green and his veins were bulging. He looked hatefully at Yu Yian and Yi Mo. The middle-aged man seemed very defeated. He seemed 100 years older, and asked powerlessly, Yin, you've been well educated as a girl, and Liao Wei is a dragon amongst men. Is he no match for you? Why did you do such a thing? You slept with a servant? Tell me, how could you do this? Tell me. The middle-aged man's face was turning paler and paler, but Yi Mo was laughing inside. This middle-aged man practically looked like he wanted to commit suicide on the outside, but his heart was calm, and he wasn't angry at all. It was such a waste this father and daughter didn't go to Hollywood. You're a Mo Ing, right? You're a mere servant, yet you dare do this to your master. Pull him out and beat him to death. The middle-aged man yelled, Don't hurt my husband. Before Yi Mo could talk, Mu Xiaoyan ran out from somewhere and hugged Yi Mo, dragging him away from the two servants who were about to take him away. Yi Mo didn't care anymore. He had his new identity, and his qi had recovered almost by half. If it wasn't that he didn't want to cause too much trouble, he would just kill these yellow levels and go. Your husband? Do you know what he did? He dared seduce the young miss and do such immoral things. There's no need to keep such shameless people in the world. Come, kill him and lock his wife up too, a cold woman's voice sounded. It was a woman in her 40s. Please don't harm my husband. I'll be your servant. Please. Mu Xiaoyan was about to kneel. Her eyes were full of horror, but Yi Mo pulled her back and stopped her. He thought Mu Xiaoyan didn't care about him. He didn't expect her to care about him this much. Mother! Yu Yuyen cried out as she saw the woman. That's enough. Liao Wei yelled and stared coldly at Yu Yuyen. Yu Yuyen, what did our Liao family do wrong to you? What did I do wrong to you? We gave you a Shangqing Mountain disciple card as the marriage gift, yet you're such a disloyal woman. You slept with an ugly servant. Yu Yuyen bowed to Liao Wei and sniffed. Sorry, Dash. Liao Wei laughed and pointed at her. No need to say sorry to me. Give me the card back. Yu Yuyen sniffed and said, Sorry, Brother Liao. I was just stupid for that moment. I still love you, and you can do whatever you want to Moing. If I could, I would give you back the card right now and be a servant of the Liao family to pay for my sins. But alas, I already gave the card to Shangqing Mountain. Yi Mo finally understood what was going on now. This Yi Yen looked innocent, but she sure was ruthless and heartless. If she didn't meet him, she would have found someone else to sacrifice for sure. Suddenly, that guard whispered something to Liao Wei. He said that Yu Yuyen and the servant had long since been together. Hearing this, Liao Wei's face turned awful. Yi Mo couldn't help but applaud this woman for her schemes. Chapter 700. What to do? Chapter 700. What to do? Yi Yuyen wasn't old, but her heart was so cold. A stranger's life was worth nothing in her eyes. She was casually going to hand in his life to Liao Wei for punishment. You be asterisk tease. Give me the Shangqing Mountain card back. It's the Liao family's item. I don't care who you gave it to now. Give it back at once. Liao Wei's voice was shaking with anger. Yu Yuyen said shakily, Brother Liao, I already gave the card to Shangqing Mountain. If you want me to take it back, I will. Liao Wei almost fainted again. It was impossible to get it back after giving the card to Shangqing Mountain. If Yu Yin asked for it, the entire Liao family would suffer. Yi Mo suddenly had a strong sense of disgust for this woman. This woman reminded him of the Dongfang brothers. I will annihilate the Yu family. Liao Wei was so angry that he didn't care about what he said. Yu Yuyen sneered but didn't reply. Everyone else from the Yu family was also calm. Liao Wei's guard said to him, The Yu family has a Shangqing Mountain disciple now. Young master, let's go back and think of another way to make them pay. The only thing Yi Mo didn't get was why Yu Yuyen had done this to get what she wanted. This way she had lost face as a woman. Did it not matter to women here? As though he understood that the guard was right, Liao Wei realized that he couldn't do anything to Yu Yuyan. He soon remembered Yi Mo, the main culprit. Liao Shan, break that Mo guy's legs. Liao Wei transferred his anger towards Yi Mo. Mu Xiaoyan was going to kneel down and beg for her husband's life again. Mu Xiaoyan caught Liao Wei's attention. She was much prettier than Yu Yuyan. Although she was wearing coarse clothes, if she stood next to Yu Yuyan would only seem like a maid. Liao Wei's eyes didn't move. He stared at Mu Xiaoyan for a long time before reacting. Even his anger was partly gone. Okay, but you need to come with me. Liao Wei felt more and more that Mu Xiaoyan was the girl he wanted. Compared to Mu Xiaoyan, Yu Yuyan was scum. No. Mu Xiaoyan began to worry. She had been covering her real beauty and living in the countryside, so she hadn't had trouble. When she saw her husband, she stopped covering her face. But now, problems arised. Mu Xiaoyan subconsciously grabbed Yi Mo's sleeve. Liao Wei's expression sunk. If you stay with this ugly and poor husband, you will never be able to enjoy life. Our Liao family is a big family in the Lianhua city. I won't treat you poorly. If you follow me, you can enjoy my wealth. However, if you don't want to come, I will still take you away and kill your husband. Although Yu Yuyan had planned to break this marriage, she couldn't help to suddenly feel uneasy. He cared about her sleeping one night with another guy, but he didn't mind that at all in Mo Ying's wife's case. Mu Xiaoyan had slept by Mo Ying's every day. Why didn't he care? Yu Yuyan subconsciously looked at Mu Xiaoyan, realizing how pretty she was. Not even she was as pretty as her. So that was it. Yu Yuyan's expression had sunk too, but it soon returned to normal. She sniffed. Brother Liao, Mo Ying is our servant. You can take his wife. Take it as a compensation. Ha! Yuyan Marshall's sister. I arrived a few days late. What is the compensation? A young handsome man carrying a long sword walked inside. Yi Mo saw the words Shangqing embroidered in the corner of his clothes. When Yu Yuyan saw this man, she immediately became excited and walked to him quickly. She called his name. Marshal Brother Guan. The man didn't seem to care about the people around, and approached her saying, Marshal Sister Yan, how was the trick I taught you? Thank you, Marshal Brother Guan. Yu Yuyan thanked him. Love was written all over her eyes, but they couldn't have expected that Yi Mo could hear their words. Yi Mo realized that this Marshal Brother Guan wanted to be with Marshal Sister Yan. Hence they planned it so that Liao Wei, that idiot, would forfeit the marriage. It's Marshal Brother Guan from Shangqing. Not even Liao Wei could keep up his ego now. Yi Mo smiled in this moment. Everyone, although you saw me sleeping naked with Yin, you can't blame me. Everybody was looking at him strangely. And Yi Mo said once again, to be honest, Yu Yen is indebted to me. Still, I don't blame her for treating me like this. When she was pregnant in Hang Shui, despite not knowing who the father of the child was, I still helped her get an abortion. After she got the abortion, she slept with me for a while. Yuyan, it's not like I didn't pay you. I gave you all the money I made from my business. Although you only slept with me for a little more than a month, I didn't blame you. I have something to tell to the other businessmen. Hearing this, Yu Yuyan's face turned green. Her lips started to shake, but she was so angry she couldn't say anything. How could she not be angry when Yi Mo had said all of that in front of the person she really liked? When Marshal Brother Guan heard this, he sneered and left. Liao Wei's expression looked even worse. He hadn't expected his fiancée to not only sleep with Yi Mo, but to also have had an abortion. Everyone in the room was shocked. Let's go, Xiaoyan. Yi Mo quickly left the place before everyone could react. Quick, quick, don't let that woman get away. Lian Shan, bring her back. Liao Wei reacted. Yu Yuan's face was pale. She had been publicly called to be a broken shoe and to have had an abortion in front of Marshal Brother Guan. She didn't expect to get tricked by an insect. Yi Mo quickly took Mu Xiaoyan out of Ci town. He decided not to stay at the Yu family anymore, because he knew if he did, he would have to slaughter people. It wasn't good for him yet. Yi Mo believed that even if they left the town, Liao Wei would still chase them. "Where do you want to go?" Yi Mo asked. "Mo babe, do you still have monies?" Mu Xiaoyan hesitated and asked. Yi Mo nodded. "I have a lot of gold coins. Do you need some?" Yi Mo was thinking of finding a place to swap some gold for gold coins. Mu Xiaoyan quickly said, "No, when Mother died, she owed people some money. I want to pay it back and then leave Huangping with you. I'll go wherever you go." It was fine if they went back to Huangping. Yi Mo was sure that a lot of people would chase them there, but he would just kill them. However, if Mu Xiaoyan was to leave with him, it would be troublesome. He wasn't her husband, and it was inconvenient to take her with him. Xiaoyan, my name is tarnished. I even had an affair with Yu Yuyan. You're still willing to go with me?" Yi Mo asked, helplessly. Mu Xiaoyan nodded. "Yes, you're my husband. Where will I go if I don't go with you? I know that young Miss is lying. What's more, even if she wasn't, what's that got to do with you? She's the one being a slut." Yi Mo was speechless. What kind of logic was this? What was he going to do if she insisted on staying with him? Leave secretly. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.